I'll be right back.
Okay. We're going to take care of it, you guys. Okay. So how I met Teresa, I'll tell you guys this. I was running a group called Psychics and Sleuths. And the reason I started the group was start back at the beginning for people who don't know. When I did the first reading with Tylee Ryan, who was literally brought in my living room by my daughter, okay, I would not have believed Tylee. And you know, the story is so insane. I never, ever, ever would have believed Tylee if my daughter had not brought her in with me. And I didn't want to upload the reading. I've been doing this for years. I would have never put it on YouTube just for personal safety reasons. But then when I looked on the media to see where do I send this, they didn't even know what state the kids were in. Okay, so 5 states, and I was just like, oh, no way. Because normally, if you want to send something, you could send a letter in, but if you really want someone to read it, you're probably going to have to, it's going to take some work. And there's just, in 5 states, what do you do? So I uploaded the reading to YouTube. And then I know I told you guys to call, but just like 10 more minutes of talking and then we'll take calls. Because now it's going nonstop. Okay, let's see. So I put it on YouTube and so many people started emailing me that I was like, oh my God, I need to put all these people in a group so we can try to solve this together or try to like look up these clues and things like that. And so I made the group Psychic Sleuth. And that group is now defunct. I privatized the group so we could retain our material, but I would say at least 10 people last time I looked had copied the name. So I don't use that anymore, so don't look it up and think it's me. That's I just have now I have my channel. The group on Facebook is under the same name as my channel, just so that won't happen again. But Teresa came into the group and she was like, there's so many people that want things from me. And, that's okay. I understand that. But I'm just like one person. And Teresa came in and she said, how can I help? And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, if you needed somebody to do something for you, what would you need? And it was like, I think I almost started crying because it was like I was doing everything by, there was about 20 people there was like 450 people in there. And there was like 20 people who were actively looking up clues. But Teresa was just like, what do you need help with? If you had someone to help you, what would you need? And we just ended up, she helped me a lot, like a lot, because sometimes after those readings with Tylee, what happens with doing consecutive readings is they get more and more graphic and detailed. And sometimes I would become very traumatized. And Teresa really helped me. Like, it'd take 2 or 3 days sometime to come back to normal. And Teresa just helped me through everything, just in every way. And I value her extremely, and not only as an admin, but as a friend. So I just want to I'm just talking while you're doing that. Did you get your earplugs plugged in?
I have them on, but I don't know if it's causing or it's helping at all or hurting. So.
Okay.
Because I haven't talked yet.
Well, yeah, that's the most we can do, is put the earplugs on and see. Yeah, Teresa. And so Teresa was drawn to this case, she was saying, because she has a son, which is interesting because JJ, right, is Tylee's brother, but DJ is Teresa's son.
Yeah, their names are close too, as well.
Yeah, and exact same age and also autistic. And so she was just attracted to this case and she became involved very early on, way before the remains were found.
It was Valentine's Day night, the evening of Valentine's Day. And I was on the computer trying to see if there was any news on them. And I ran across your help me with this. The one that the one you talked about, Tammy and everyone, when you were real sick. Your overview.
Oh, I had COVID. Yeah. So in psychic overview, like if you see me and you're like, oh my God, she looks like death warmed. Actually, I watched it yesterday and I was like, I didn't look that bad. It's like, at the time I was just horribly, like I looked like death warmed over. I was in the middle of the most worst strain of COVID where you lose your, and I'm literally was laying in bed and I could see Tylee and Charles with my eyes. They appeared like by my bed, half of them, and I could see them, and they really wanted me, really pushing me to you need to get this out there. You need to get this out there. So I like got up, got in the shower, and I realized I wasn't even going to be able to stay standing until my hair dried. So I'm sitting there with wet hair and a 20-year-old video camera, just trying to get this information out there. So are you saying you saw that. So you saw it that day I put it up?
It must have been, yeah. I saw it that night. I was looking in that. I came across it. And what made me stop, I don't know. Maybe because I don't know. I have no idea because I didn't know. I don't think I knew you were a psychic. Maybe it said psychic overview. Whatever it was, I just thought, okay, well, let's see what this is for a second. And so I looked and like I've said it like 100 times before, normally I would be like, oh, forget this. I need real information. I'm going to go somewhere else, Yeah. And so I might have got off, but something about your presence. Now I know everyone says this, so I know everyone knows exactly what I'm talking about because when they
Thank
see
you,
this,
Kung Fu Pound. Hey, I'm going to let Sweetie Pilo on here, but you can just keep talking. I'm going to put her on the stage with us.
Hi,
See
Lauren.
what happens.
Hi, Lauren.
Hi, Lauren. Look, you guys, it's Lauren. Woo-hoo.
How are you guys?
Hi.
Thank you for having me, Donna. I know it's I'm a little late, but I've had to deal with a bunch of birthdays this weekend. It's been chaos.
And that's good though. You're socializing and having fun. That's what matters. I said, well, Lauren, if you're at that party having a good time, just stay at the party.
I know. I couldn't leave you hanging though. I wanted to be with you guys and just shoot the breeze a little,
Thank you. You know Teresa, right?
Hi, Teresa.
Hi, Lauren.
Great to see you. Awesome. Yeah, I was listening a little bit about how you guys met. And it takes me back in time to 4 years ago when those kids, when Tylee and JJ were found.
Thank you, Susan.
Just unbelievable, Donna. I mean, so many of us believe in the spirit world,
Oh, yeah. So, Lauren thought I was crazy. Everyone thought I was insane.
100%.
I'm just like, oh, my God. It's just, and in fact, like yesterday I watched like 2 of the readings I did. I have not myself been able to watch them in 4 years, other than that time when I clipped them out or whatever. Other than that, I've been traumatized and terrorized, almost like if you have a nightmare and you don't want to open the door to it. Yeah. And it actually was really good yesterday because for the first time I was able to watch them without freaking out. I actually felt like, that's not that scary. I think I can deal with it now. And even with like the psychic overview, that is like the first time in almost 4 years I've watched that.
Now, the psychic overview, is that the one where you didn't go into too much detail about what happened to Tylee, but you talked about JJ some? Like it was like 58 minutes long. Is it that one?
Yeah. So it's the one where I'm talking and I had COVID or whatever. Yep. And the thing is, so I actually made that for Kay Woodcock.
Well, did you really?
Yeah, what I did, because I had been writing her emails, and what I did was the other ones were so graphic, and I would write, please don't listen to this, just forward it to the law enforcement. Mm-hmm. But I made that one, and I purposely left out the real gory details, on purpose. So it wasn't that I didn't know them because I'd already put them out there. It's just I wanted something that she could listen to have an idea of where this is going, what I'm seeing. So I'm talking about the black plastic and stuff, but I'm not going into extreme details on the actual death. So it's more like about the locations of the remains and things like that.
Okay.
And what happened and who's involved. I mean, very, very clearly, Lori's a driving force in all this, and so is Chad, both of them. Like someone on Reddit was saying that it's like who are you going to blame, the gasoline or the fire, you know?
Right. That's so true. They're both just mutually crazy. The whole bunch of them, really. Yeah, there's a little bit of an echo. I'm sure you already know about that, but echo.
Do you think that's coming from mine?
I hear it from Lauren, actually.
Windows
I didn't hear
open?
it before.
What?
I didn't hear it before Lauren came on, but now I hear it.
You hear it now. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Donna, do you have any windows open in your or
no
or anything?
No. Do you have your YouTube closed, Lauren?
Yeah. In fact, I wasn't even on YouTube. I just clicked your link from my computer and it just brought me up. So I don't even have YouTube open. But I was watching it on my phone, but my phone's not on now. You know.
Yeah. Some people hear it and some people don't.
You know what you could try doing? We could try leaving. Like, so Teresa and I could try, you know, where it says like leave studio, right?
Mm-hmm.
That X button. We could press that. We could leave studio, then press the link again, go back in and see if it's still like that.
Okay, I think you're the one echoing. Why don't you try that first?
Okay, that. Yep, let's do that. Okay.
And hi, Tammy. Let me say thank you to some of these people who have donated. What I'd really like to do is I'd like to be able to drive up. One thing, I'd like to go look Chad Daybell in the eyes. But another thing I'd like to do is go up and look for Brian's knife. Brian Koberger. I'm obsessed. You know what's really weird is when I do readings, I get real obsessed about some certain parts. And it's like, it's almost like a pigeon or like a homing. Like, it's like it's an internal urge. Like I want to go in there and find that knife, you know, the missing piece or whatever. Oh, here she is again. You're all right.
Okay.
So how many people think Melanie Gibb should be in prison?
Me. She should be. How did she get away with this, Donna?
I don't know. And what's with this group of women that talks like little girls? Like, oh my God. Oh, let's go murder some people and then we'll talk like little girls.
They're so disgusting.
I cannot stand them.
I can't either. And think you had to see them psychically. You know, Lori and Chad and Alex and.
I was connected to Lori Vallow's brain, just like I was connected to Brian Koberger's. So while Lori Vallow I went. Oh no, this is not. Okay. Oh, they probably didn't even hear that. So we're sitting there talking. Oh, check my phone. Yeah, I was connected to Lori Vallow's brain when she was doing this.
Oh my gosh.
So, on that note with the Melanie, from what I understand, Melanie Pawloski also has immunity.
Right.
Okay.
That's shocking.
And other people was what was said was like her and other people. So I wonder if Melanie Gibb also has immunity.
I bet she does.
You know, it makes me sick and it makes me mad to find out I think she's even far worse than Zulema, even though Zulema is like admitting she's sitting there casting spells on people. I actually, okay, this is just a belief, so I'm not making a psychic claim and all this. It's the conjecture, it's the legal equivalent of an opinion. My opinion is that she was there purposely for the death of JJ. My opinion is that she went there for the ceremony of ritual. And my opinion is that she was part of it. My opinion is she should be in prison. And my opinion is, why is Rob Wood have 300 emails and texts with this witch?
Right. Such a good point.
Did she wrap him around her little finger?
Potentially.
Because I don't think she's any less worse than Lori. Literally. Well, Lori's a little extreme too, but as far as the evil, as far as advancement in my computer's just going on overdrive. See, she put a spell on me. No, my computer just starts spinning like crazy.
Oh, I hope not.
She's probably over there putting a spell like, oh, if she talks about me. But yeah, no. I want to know what you guys think there in the audience too, and you guys.
For sure.
So I'm gonna see if I can open. I wrote some notes down to try and help me remember things that I wanted to.
And Anna Franco, I don't believe a word Melanie Gibb says, and when she's in her little girl voice manipulating people, I don't believe it. And I also don't believe. I think there's a real problem with. I don't know how to say it nicely.
Just say it.
Well,
let it out.
The whole story is controlled by the Mormon Church.
Yeah. I would agree.
Nate Eaton owns East Idaho News, as well as something called Mormon something Trust or something like that. I forgot the name of it. You know, and the other YouTubers that are Mormon, they're controlling the story, and they're not really delving into how these beliefs evolved. Mm-hmm. What part of them is, I mean, I was shown, right, in March 2020, I'm saying they're twisting the doctrine. So nobody is, I'm not trying to claim that the Mormon Church would ever advocate for this. But there are other people of offshoots of, you know, in the Mormon Church. And I did a really good interview I haven't uploaded. And the interview I did upload already with Eric Smith, he's talking about, I mean, that temple is Freemasonry. Within Freemasonry, you have a right-hand path and a left-hand path. Mm-hmm. And Eric Smith said that area from where Chad came from, there's a lot of people into that left-hand path.
Very interesting.
And, okay, so when you look at the wedding picture of remember that wedding when, did Melanie Gibb go get married on December 13th?
I think she did, actually. Or was it? Yeah, it could have been.
I think it was. I think Melanie Gibb got married on December 13th, another witch day, right? Let's go get married on the 13th. Oh, and she wears a black dress to get married. Who wears a black dress to get married?
A witch would.
A witch would. Yeah. A witch would. And then she's carrying red roses, and then Dave Warwick is wearing a red tie. So if you're into the Satanist crap, that red indicates... Part of it sometimes indicates that you're a person that spills blood, right? You're a ceremony person. Mm-hmm. And another thing it could represent is sometimes they wear red, then that's supposed to protect them from the demons or whatever. But they're all in. They're all in. And if I find out Rob Wood gave Melanie Gibb a free pass, I think there's information, and I'm a little vague. Somebody can put it here, but I think there's information from the conversations and texts between Melanie Gibb. Remember a long time ago that there was the conversations between Melanie Gibb and Lori prior to Charles' death? It indicated that she knew something was going to happen. Right. And then she knew something was going to happen with Tylee. And John Pryor is trying to get to this. I think Chad's given him the information. And why is the state blocking it? Wouldn't the state, if they wanted justice, think, yeah, great, you got her on the stand, go for it. We wanted to know too.
I agree.
Right.
I agree.
You know, but they don't. They are blocking him every step of the way. And even with Melanie Pawloski, John Pryor says, exactly what weekend were you there? And the Leslie Blake interrupts him, and she goes, she said the last weekend or near the last. Well, JJ was murdered near the last weekend. JJ was murdered the second to the last weekend. So why is Leslie Blake trying to not let that information out as to whether Melanie Pawloski was in Rexburg? Why is the state protecting these witches? And there's too much of let's protect the Mormon Church and not expose just how deep this goes. Like, how has Melanie Gibb still not been excommunicated? Well, Eric Smith, just because he suggested that there's multiple lives or something, they kick him out of the church. But Melanie Gibb goes around murdering people, and she's not kicked out.
That's such a good point you're making.
Or complicity in murder, accessory to murder. Let me tell you guys something too. Anybody watching this, it just pisses me off. There's something about Melanie Gibb that pisses me off 10 times more than Zulema. It's like I hate her. I literally hate her.
I love when Pryor goes after her.
I do too.
I just love it because I can't stand the lady.
Do you think that she's gonna hide Like Melanie Pawloski hid, right? So she wouldn't have to testify in the trial of Lori.
I agree.
And she didn't get in trouble for it. So what do you think the odds are that Melanie Gibb's going to hide?
She very well could.
And I tell you, they need to put her on the stand, and the prosecution, if they really want justice, they need to let Pryor have at her so that we get out this truth.
I know.
And I just don't understand how she has 300 emails and texts with Rob Wood.
Yeah.
There's something wrong there. Was she just conning him all this time? I'm so innocent. I just gonna protect the church. If you want to protect the church, you don't plot mass murder sprees.
They knew full well what was going on, and they're playing stupid now like they did. But they did.
Oh yeah. Thank you, Shelley. Yeah. Oh, here's another thing I think most people don't know is the day after Alex shot at Brandon Boudreaux, Melanie Gibb walked up and down the street outside Brandon Boudreaux's place looking for someone to ask to see if Brandon Boudreaux got shot or not. So how is she not an accessory to murder?
Donna, did that come out in court? Did I miss that?
No, they didn't say it in court. This was known like 2 years ago.
Okay, that's probably.
And it just infuriates me when I see her, because just in that Yellowstone reading, I saw a lineup of people, and I wanted to. It was just like in that Summer Wells thing where they wouldn't let me see their faces. They blurred their faces. And I always thought one of them was Melanie Pawloski. And it could be, let me put it this way. I believe that every one of those people that were in town was standing there in a line. Oh, while I'm on a roll, can I say one more thing?
Of course.
Your show. Did you see the body cam? Did you see the body cam of Lori Vallow's condominium?
Yes.
I did. So one of the rooms has a double bed and a twin bed with blue sheets and maybe blue comforter.
What you said.
If they had a bunk bed and took it apart, so because the murder happened September 22nd or wherever around there, and then the search was December 11th, right? So 6 weeks went by, right? If you got rid of your kids, you might as well take down the bunk bed. But those are the sizes, right? I said where one bed is bigger than the other and the comforters are navy blue. There it is in that freaking condo, 3 feet from where allegedly bitch Gibb, I'm so sorry. Oh, I said witch Gibb. Sorry, witch Gibb. Witch.
I love when she gets on a roll.
Melanie Gibb and David Warwick are allegedly sleeping 5 feet away from the hellacious fight that JJ put up. JJ fought for his life. He wasn't drugged. This was no peaceful thing. This was horrific. On both children, it was horrific. And the way they killed them both is what would qualify, besides the multiple murders and every other thing that qualifies. But the way they killed those kids, the torture they put them through qualifies for the death penalty. And we're supposed to believe Melanie Gibb and David Warwick were fast asleep 5 feet away.
Oh, and that David Warwick had a dream or a nightmare, right? And that they had to wake Chad up or whoever to get a blessing.
Yeah. Or Melanie Gibb's like, Chad, David Warwick's having a problem. Oh, you know what they did admit on the stand was they admitted that David Warwick admitted that the whole reason him and Melanie got married was so they would not have to testify against each other. He admitted it. He just flat out admitted it.
Perfect sense.
Yeah, I'm so infuriated. I don't know. If Zulema was in town, she was probably there too. I mean, it's just like I saw a lineup of people. And it just, for some reason, every time I see Melanie Gibb, it's a visceral reaction of just disgust and anger.
I understand. I feel the same way when I see these people. That's why I'm saying when I see John Pryor go after her, I feel like, thank God somebody is, because she's gotten such an easy pass, an easy ride through this whole journey.
Right. She doesn't have to answer anything hard.
She knew what was going on. You know damn well she did.
Yeah,
they all did.
Well, the point that I want to make about the David Warwick nightmare. So David Warwick and Melanie weren't sleeping in the same room. So he would have had to have that nightmare, get up, go to Melanie's room, tell her. She would have had to come out and knock on the door. I mean, nothing was heard in between all of that. You know, I just feel like that his nightmare is what they were just saying. Like, you know, if for whatever reason it came out that they were up or that they had gotten up, that would be their reason.
Oh.
Yeah, and that's even more fake, because if she had gotten up, then she would really be in the middle of everything going on. Because remember, I said it happened at the doorway of that room.
Yeah, and he would have gotten up and gone to tell Melanie, because Melanie was in Tylee's room, right? And then because they don't sleep together, they weren't married.
They say.
Right.
I mean, do we even believe that anyway?
Right.
Isn't that one of Melanie's stories?
Yeah, I'm not buying that.
Yeah, it just seems always has seemed weird to me that David had this nightmare, like a child he went into into another room to go tell someone about it, or like, can I sleep at the foot of your bed type thing, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me tell Dad. Oh, and by the way, when Pawloski, Melanie Pawloski would call him Dad on that audio recording, Chad, which you call Chad Dad. That was enough to gag a maggot. I'm like, these people disgust me.
I know she must have this.
Donna?
She must have like the same schizoid problem Lori had.
Right. And her own mother was kind of a mess too, right?
Her kind of a mess.
Very much a mess.
In the divorce papers, Melanie Pawlowski's father says Lori's father is schizophrenic, and Melanie's mother was so schizoid and schizophrenic that she shaved her own head and shaved Melanie's head and would keep the apartment curtain shut and thought that people were always after them. And he was concerned about Melanie Pawlowski's safety. And even Melanie Pawlowski was like 5 years old, and he was trying to get Melanie Pawlowski away from that family.
I don't blame him.
So yeah, so maybe they're both Lori and Melanie are susceptible to kind of this schizoaffective problems, because Melanie Pawlowski, what sounds like she was about to go kill her own children too. Did you hear those texts?
That's the impression I got too.
In these texts, it sounded like that they would have. So what kind of pervert weirdo is Chad Daybell that he wants to go? So now he's wanting to go kill kids. They have a father. They have a custody somewhere else. It's not like these ones are in the way, right? They're not in the way, but Chad, we're going to kill these ones too?
I know, and somehow Chad's kids are all still here, but nobody else is. Like, Lori's are gone.
I know.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Chad and Lori, nuts. Absolutely insane people.
They're psycho.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Do you think that Chad's life is going to end early? Like, once he's actually in there for good, his trial's over, he's been convicted, all that. Do you think he's the type to do himself in?
Yes.
Donna, have you ever gotten that impression?
During the reading, they showed me them practicing with the same pills they probably gave to Alex. And for the record, someone asked, no, I do not believe Alex's death was natural. But they were laying on their bed and practicing, okay, this is what we'll do. We'll just take the pills together. Like if they knew ahead of time the police were going to come.
Okay.
But I don't think that, now I'm kind of thinking after talking to Eric, the conversation Eric and I had this time was really deep, really looking, because he's done a lot of thinking, really looking into church. And he said, I brought up the blood atonement principle. And I thought it meant, okay, so if you murder someone, they automatically go to heaven. But so maybe Chad, I always wondered, why is Chad going to trial when there's so much evidence against him, right? Why is he even bothering? Why not just make a plea deal? Because if he lets the state murder him, the blood atonement means he's washed away of all his sins and he automatically gets to go to heaven.
Oh, okay.
For that part. So that was a book that Joseph Smith, the head Mormon that founded that religion, or else his son or something wrote. But it was about blood atonement. So what it meant was if Chad goes through and lets them do the death penalty on him, then he goes to heaven in his own mind.
So his sins are like washed free and he's okay.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. Sick.
Yeah.
Very sick.
I don't think it's going to work that way for him.
No,
I think he's going to be in the pit.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not the one to say, but.
Right. No, he deserves that. What were you say?
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm going to check on something.
Okay. I'm going to put the number up here again.
You're going to do a call-in, right?
Yeah, a few people have called, so I just wanted to wait till we talked, and then, let me see, 5033. We'll take some calls now if you have any. If you guys could bring up any topic you want.
Donna, I wanted to address the 2-story house that Remember Pryor was trying to say that
it's a 1-story house.
Right, that it was a 1-story house. And I just wanted to let the audience know, who might not know this already, that Donna called that from right out of the gate, right from your first reading from January 31st, 2020. You said it was like a 1-story / like 2-story conversion type situation.
Yeah, where somebody added.
Yeah, added on. It was mind-blowing how many facts you got right just from your first reading alone, Donna.
I know, and then the reality is I only needed to do 2 or 3 readings. That's what I'll carry forward. Let's see.
I know, and you did.
Hi, this is Donna. Are you there? Oh, and then okay, she might call back. That one keeps going. But yeah, I think I only needed to do 2 or 3 readings. Like,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
I mean.
Maybe, but
it
in
was
the group
too much.
when we were looking, we needed her to do more readings because we needed more. So she was going in and doing more to try and get certain information, and we were really were trying hard for her to get numbers of a house numbers or something, and it was just, I mean, we were grabbing at straws because there was the one where she went in to get more information, and Charles was showing her his watch. And so we were like, now we're looking for little houses or possible cabins near a lake with the numbers 974. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
94575 or something like that. It was like all these little different angles, and with so many people in the group, and then there's a lot of people spectating, but the ones that were really like looking into it, it was amazing how smart some of them were. You know,
that
like
makes sense.
Yeah,
especially with Yellowstone and stuff. Okay, here's a call. Hi, this is Donna. How are you doing?
Okay.
Can you hear the caller, Lauren?
I can't hear.
Me neither.
Stick her up to the microphone.
Can you hear her now?
No.
Nope. If you stick her right up to that microphone, see if that works on speaker.
Let me see if you're okay. Try talking.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay. I was just saying that I started following around the same time that Sweetie Kylo shared your videos, and so I've been following this case from the beginning, and I'm with her. I thought, there's no way that she could get all of these things right.
Oh, I know.
And
wow.
It has almost driven me crazy watching this case, because knowing about it for so long and feeling what you know is true, and then the anticipation of, like, hurry up and get this over with. These people need to go away.
Yeah.
My question is, I'm kind of wondering if Rob Wood is in with all this stuff. All of those text messages back and forth, and it just seems pretty...
well, I think he's Mormon, probably.
To have that
and do you see how... has he asked any other cops if any tips helped, or just Detective Hermosillo?
I think just Hermosillo.
Yeah. So in Lori's trial, he asked Hermosillo to deny my existence, and in this trial, he asked me. He didn't ask any FBI agents who are selling their best-selling books on their little frickin' tour. Try to deny my existence, then, motherfuckers. And you know what? I got stuff on you guys. Trust me. I'll release it.
Well, it just seemed kind of crazy that he was there at every single time that everybody was questioned. I mean, are the prosecutors usually there for all that, or aren't just like
no, and neither is Nate Eaton, who happens to be friends with Detective Dave Hope. Okay, so Nate Eaton, who controls this whole story for the Mormon Church, happens to be on the plane ride with the cops to go follow Lori. No, Nate Eaton didn't go over there on himself. At the very beginning of this, he was friends with Dave Hope. And you know what? In the group they made, the Misery group, that group was made by them. That was Dave Hope in the beginning, right? In the cops in the beginning. And right away, that first week, literally at the beginning of February 2020, I put in that group that the stepfather buried the kids in his backyard. And you know what happened? They kicked me out of their group.
Wow.
You know? Yeah, it's infuriating.
Well, and then isn't Heather Daybell's daughter married to the Hope's son?
Yes.
Yeah, Heather. So Matt Daybell, for those that don't know, is Chad Daybell, the psycho killer's brother, is named Matt Daybell. His wife, Heather Daybell, okay, they have a daughter, and she is married to Detective Dave Hope's son. Right? So they all know Chad's house. They live a mile away. They all heard my reading. Dave Hope wrote me a letter back. Dave Hope's not testifying. Oh, by the way, Dave Hope rides a Harley, you know, in case you want to listen to my third reading, all about the Harley guy.
He's the Harley guy.
Who's having a hard time. Oh, he's the Harley guy. Who's having a hard time believing that his relative did this and all that kind of stuff. So they have him retire, right? So he doesn't need to testify. If you retire, you don't have to testify. So they have Dave Hope retired, right? And I don't know where I was going with that, but then they have his partner, Detective Hermosillo, get on the stand at both trials and deny that any tips helped. Excuse the heck out of me. And what do they call themselves? Do they dare call themselves men of God? Because they are not. And one thing I have a big question of is the Mormon Church just allowed to lie? Like, okay, if do not lie is a 10 commandment, is in the Mormon Church, once you're in the, secret brotherhood or whatever, is it okay to lie as long as you think you're protecting the church? That's a question. If there's any Mormons in here, let me know.
Well, my daughter-in-law is Mormon, and it blows me away. The differences.
What does she say about it?
They kind of keep hush-hush about it. I mean, at first they were talking about the whole trial and her family and stuff, and now I think because it's painting Mormons in a bad light, they're kind of hush-hush about it. But they don't like any of the things coming out about, the things that they believe because they've kept it secret for so long. You know what I mean?
Well, check this out. Do you remember 4 years ago when this whole light and dark thing happened and Justin Lum and Nate Eaton? I'm going to hang up, okay? Just because my hand's tired of holding the phone. Justin Lum and Nate Eaton both just blew up the media with this light and dark chart. But do you know the light and dark thing is part of the Mormon practice?
Yeah.
So they lied to us. They've been lying to us for 4 years. And you know what? I did an interview with a bishop's daughter the other day, and I just haven't got time to edit it yet. But she said when you are formally ordained into the, ordained isn't the weird word. Ordained isn't the word, but when you're formally initiated into the temple, which is Freemasonry, let's not mince words. It's Freemasonry. They have a pentagram turned upside down like the satanic. Yes, it is. It is Freemasonry, and you're given new names. You're given spiritual names, and I think that's a fine tradition. But this whole thing of Nate Eaton going, "Oh my God, they're calling themselves James and Elena, you guys." Oh. You know what?
I love
he knows. He knew the light and dark was part of his religion.
Nothing new.
No. And he knew that giving new names when you're doing a spiritual thing is part of his religion. And there was like 3 or 4 other things that we were talking about. I'm like, oh my God, we've been lied to. We have been lied to. For 4 years, we've been lied to. If I write a book, it's going to go in depth into the roots of this Mormon crime. Because it's a twisting. This girl, this lady who is a mission, the bishop's daughter, she told me that, she just told me about all the fights within the Mormon church and all the doctrines, and essentially it turned into a corporation that tries to hide the actual doctrines. So some other people, broke into the vaults or whatever, and they stole them and disseminated them, and then so that's why these appear to be fringe groups, but they're not fringe groups. They're actually groups who are trying to follow that Mormon direction to a T. And so I was trying to figure out where on there is Chad Daybell. Where is this idea? Oh, here's another thing. I don't want to go just on a round, but you know what? Everybody sits there and goes, I'm talking about those people out there. The zombies. Okay. What about their Mormon buddy, Jason Moe, who was the creative producer on a movie, a very boring movie, about a small town. And in Jason Moe's movie, there's this small town, and all the kids who are Mormons, they get possessed by zombies, which is equivalent to naming demons, right? And all the kids are possessed by zombies. And then the parents have a lot of thinking to do, and they finally do the right thing by killing their daughter in almost the closest I have ever seen to what happened to Tylee.
And that to clip what is
happened to Tylee.
That was in his movie thing?
Oh my God. I actually took a clip from his movie and altered it. But in his movie, the main girl character, whose parents really, they love their daughter, but they have to kill her because she's demon possessed. And look at all these Mormons out there who are thinking their kids are demon possessed. So they have to kill her because she's demon possessed. And guess how they do it? They have one person. They use this thing from the dog pound that puts the thing over the neck, right?
Okay, yeah.
That they catch dogs with. Someone puts it up. No less in a barn shed type of thing. Same as Tylee was killed. I mean, it's like, I know Chad and Lori watched that movie. They acted it out. Why hasn't Nate Eaton talked about it? Because anything where it could tie back to the Mormon church is whitewashed out of this whole story, and it's been going on for 4 years.
So true.
4 years. And okay, besides they put that around her neck, then someone else bashed her over, her mother or father, I think. It's my responsibility. If we're going to kill our own daughter, then it's my responsibility to be the one to do it. And shows them bashing her head and blood splattering all over. And when I watched that movie, like the whole movie is so boring.
Yeah.
But then when it came to that point, my mouth dropped open, because when I try to put up videos and I try to find something for a couple of seconds that even looks remotely close to what I saw, I'm like, oh my God. They copied that movie, and they even copied the way they were going to kill her from that movie. Yeah, but we don't even hear about Melanie Gibb's friend named Jason Moe, who the day after Charles was killed, he put up a Facebook post making a joke about it, who happens to be Melanie Gibb's friend. Jason is the one who introduced the Queen Witch, Melanie, to Lori, Melanie Gibb is above Lori on the witch ranking. So, I mean, I could see that, because usually it's done in a pyramidal structure. So, oh my God, I gotta calm down.
Yeah, that's
You guys
right.
take it.
Jason Mao, he was the one who posted that anybody know a guy that has a Jeep or something post, right?
Yeah,
Wasn't it-
anyone have a Jeep for sale? Oh, I hear there's a Jeep for sale is what he wrote. Oh, ha, ha, ha. Ha, ha, ha. So in other words, this whole group of people knows that Charles is going to be murdered and they don't care at all. But somehow she's not being charged.
Yeah. You know what burns my butt too, Donna, is I remember specifically, this would have been July maybe of August, or excuse me, July or August of 2020. I called Rob Wood. I had like a 20-minute conversation with him about you, about your reading, about the stuff I knew was going to come out because you've been right about everything else. I was describing to him everything from your reading, that this is what this psychic lady said. So when what's his name, Hermosillo, went on the stand and was asked if, any, what was it? Like, I'm hearing my echo, but if anybody helped contribute, like, towards information, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they said that nobody
It
did.
was specifically about me. Yeah, in Lori's trial, they said psychic, and this time they said just did any tips from...
Listen, Rob Wood 100% knows, because I had a long conversation, in my opinion, because usually these guys don't even give you 5 minutes, right?
So you talked to Rob Wood for 20 minutes.
He knew what he saw psychically. It's before the preliminary hearing ever happened of Chad Daybell, where all the information came out about JJ and the duct tape and the bags and all that. I was telling him, this is what this lady said happened. He knew. There's no excuse. And then it came out, 2 or 3 weeks later, probably, in the preliminary hearing for Chad Daybell.
And
so, they knew. Yeah.
And I sent those letters. I sent some letters in with some clues about the that 20-foot. I was writing about the 20-foot path, and then the tools that were thrown in over the over off Trapper Lane and things. And there was some other stuff about the axe, in that. But Rachel Smith wrote me back, and she just said received, and then respectfully, Rachel. So they were getting the information.
And then there's a screenshot of which Crusha showed me, and I put up a little video where in April of 2020, so May, June, 2 months before they found the kids, Crusha, Kay Woodcock's daughter, said that she was at her parent at Larry and Kay's. They were on a conference call at the table, and with Rob Wood, and Rob Wood wanted them to make sure they sent every single thing I ever sent them. He wanted more. He wanted all of it. And I have that screenshot, and I put up a video. And that, it's total proof. And then remember, after they found the bodies and you called Detective Ball, Lauren, can you tell people about that?
Yeah, I could probably find my email real quick. You want me to find it?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I did is I contacted Ronnie Ball. This would have been... this would have been in June. This would have been shortly after the kids were found, right, of 2020.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I contacted Ron Ball. I said, this is what this psychic lady's saying. She's saying, check the freezer. And I still think there was something in that deep freeze.
Oh, I know there was. There's no doubt in my mind. I saw it over and over and over through every reading. They saved meat from that barbecue there.
Yeah. And I told Rob Wood, I said, here's what she said happened to Tyler. She said Tylee was dismembered. She was burned, that even a piece of jewelry fell off of her. It was so very specific. And this was when I talked to him on the phone. So then he wanted me to email him exactly information to follow up on that. Because I told him, the psychic lady is saying that there's going to be tools in that outbuilding that will have Tylee's DNA on them. And I told him this specifically. So he said, okay, here's my email. I want you to email me over this information so I can check it out myself. It was within about 3 hours of that conversation, Donna and Teresa, that I saw live, because remember we had the Facebook groups back then, the Tylee and JJ Facebook groups, and I saw live these law enforcement guys were going back into that outbuilding and collecting evidence.
I remember that.
They went straight in. They were there less than an hour, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they came out
even
with a bag that was about the size of the tool that you were discussing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was from
Because
her.
what had happened was after they found the bodies, then Kresha, who is Kay Woodcock's daughter, she wanted me to do another reading that was only Charles, about Charles now that they had found the kids. And so we tried, but Charles wouldn't get into it until he was obsessed about this tool that was so important that had DNA on it, like Charles from Spirit.
Right.
Was obsessed. He wouldn't get into the Kresha was like, I just want to hear about Charles. And I'm like, well, Charles has something to say. He wants this to say. So yeah, they went. So Sweetie Pilo called Detective Ball, told him that. And that same day, just hours later, they went in, came out with a bag, and there was DNA on that tool, just like Charles Vallow said. It's not so much about me; it's about Charles' spirit coming through and saying that. But it's also about them denying. You know, I'm wondering too, because people keep saying Alison Dubois. So did you hear John Pryor on the court, and then he was going, "Do you know of a psychic named Alison Dubois?" to the FBI agent.
I heard it.
Oh, okay.
And I'm thinking we're going to find out after this that they're not allowed to say my name.
Okay.
Because you know how they had all these private motion hearings and this and that? Why would John Pryor, he knows my name. My name's in their court papers. If anybody wants to look on my website. It's in the 13th motion about my psychic essay was turned over to the Rexburg police along with a purple binder with 1,100 tips related to psychic work. So it'll come out in the end.
I got my emails, Donna.
Read that.
All right.
Wait, can I make a point?
Yeah, please.
I want to try to. The Charles Vallow was the numbers that I was talking about earlier from the watch turned out to be the numbers that associated with that axe.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, what do you mean from the Charles was showing me a certain time on his watch?
Showed you the time on his watch, and we were trying to get the address, right? And
I remember.
So now we're looking for this address everywhere, but they turned out not to be the address. It turned out to be the 2475 or 29, whatever they were. It was 4 numbers, and that is what the axe is. The number on the axe. It's actually on the axe.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find that. And
I remember that now that you're saying that. Yeah. How you know how they have a little number embedded in them. That number that I kept trying to get the number, and then I was going, oh, is this an address or something? It's the number on the axe, the tool that had the DNA.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that is.
And that's the one reading that you called about and that I wrote in about, Lauren. You called and talked to Ron Ball.
Yep.
That's the same reading that had us all going, oh my gosh, there's so much more we need to tell them, you know?
Yeah.
It's so fascinating, Donna. The clues that you get are out of this world crazy fascinating to me.
It's interesting how when you apply them all, it is. You know, I like working on a case with all you guys and with, everyone looking stuff up. And Tylee is one of a kind. She's like the most insistent spirit person that I have ever come across.
Wow. So very... she was a force to be reckoned with, huh?
Well, mostly like you might sense a spirit and go, okay, I'm going to meditate at 7 p.m. tonight. If you're still here, I'll communicate with you, right? But Tylee, like I'm sitting there doing dishes and I can feel Tylee pushing through. I can't see her at that point, but I can feel her right next to me and she's leaning forward and she's talking really fast. So how fast she's talking, I can't make it out. I can just know she's like, trying to talk, and so I'm like, okay, listen, if you're here when I'm done with the dishes, I'll sit down and listen to you. It's just like push. So
the information you got from that whole process, I mean, it's crazy how accurate it is, Donna. It should be studied. It should be featured on the news on Nate Eaton's little episodes. And it pisses me off to no end that it never has been.
It does.
Is somebody going to have the balls to put it out there? The world needs to know that your ability could help solve cases. Mm-hmm. Instead, it is ignored. It is
purposely ignored.
Yeah.
And smeared.
And smeared.
Purposely ignored and smeared. I've seen people in the news because they found one fact. And it's not only Nate Eaton, it's Justin Lum as well. Although someone said that he wrote back and said he asked his bosses if he could do a story about me, and they said no at Fox. But that there's no excuse. There's just no excuse. And I'm going to ask everybody in here, please go on those other states. Do you know if you write the word psychic on East Idaho News, it's a forbidden word. You can make forbidden words in your back end of YouTube. And if someone types psychic, it doesn't even appear. So you're going to have to use phonetical creativity. Yes. And please get my name out there so we can get the real story about this whole thing out there. Because someone out here wrote, I'm not saying Nate Eaton is a bad guy. I'm saying him, Hermosillo, and Rob Wood, I believe, have conspired at the very beginning of this to make themselves famous from it. Right. And why they invited a reporter along on a surveillance. No cops invite a reporter along on surveillance. Nate Eaton didn't just decide to go to Hawaii. Nate Eaton went with Detective Hermosillo. Rob Wood is having him. I believe that they're telling a story, and so that they can have some kind of best-selling books or whatever after this is over. Yeah. But why is Rob Wood driving along with the cops during the whole investigation? Why is Nate Eaton driving along with the cops the whole investigation? You don't have a reporter going along in the whole. Does anybody even think about these things?
That's a good question.
So I looked up yesterday who owns the East Idaho News. So Nate Eaton filed for this corporation in 2016, but in conjunction with a trust, an irrevocable trust, which means someone hiding behind it. Now, I don't know if that's true, but I mean, I know that part's true, but I don't know who's in it. But I did hear one time it's one of the most powerful, richest billionaire Mormons. So this whole story is just totally controlled. Yeah. Totally controlled by the Mormons. Totally.
So true.
And I'm not saying they're bad. Again, the Mormon church is set up, okay, and just like all Freemasonry groups, with the outer ring, and those are super nice people. They're super nice. All of them I met are super nice.
They're very nice people.
Yeah, and they're living clean lives, right? So if you ever attack Mormons, they're the front. They're the front, whether they realize it or not. And some of them may go into the temple and be on the right-hand path and stuff, but there's a left-hand path in there, as Eric was talking about in the interview I did with him. If you look on my channel with Eric Smith, we really got deep into following the lines of tracking this into there. And Eric said that part in Utah where Chad grew up is full of the dark left-hand path people.
Wow. And Julie Rowe, I mean, we know she's been off the rails for a long time, but she has really gone crazy. I saw your video, what was it, last week?
I know.
Insane. Also, she looks different. Did she get plastic surgery or something?
No, it's a filter because it's from TikTok. It's those filters.
I'm thinking she got like a facelift or something.
Oh, yeah. No, it makes you look 30 years younger.
Okay.
But Eric, in that interview, Eric is saying that he thinks that Chad got those ideas from Julie.
I believe it.
That she was the one that was all about, kind of the energy healing and this kind of occult stuff and that. So.
Okay.
That's the same thing I heard Adam say.
Adam Cox, he thinks that Chad got this from Julie?
Well, he says that he thinks Lori got some of it from Julie. I think that she knew Julie before she knew Chad, if I understood it right.
Oh, you're right. She was a fan of Julie Rue. She used to listen to all her podcasts.
Yeah.
She was
so like Lori was that already had the idea, but yeah, he said the same thing about that.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah. I just listened to that this morning. Was why it's stuck in my. It's all stuck, kind of. But
right.
I listened to it for a reason. Yeah, I've listened to it for a reason. I don't remember what it was because I ended up watching the whole thing. I just wanted to hear this one part. Yeah. Because they had said it was about Melanie Gibb and Melanie Pawloski and their immunity.
Interesting.
And so I had to read that. I read a comment somewhere else that threw me into that one. So I was like, I have to go see this. So I went to go look at it, see what exactly what he said. To use today if I needed to, if the subject came up, but they really didn't say too much. Just really what I said, that he believes that. He doesn't know it, but there's Rex said it actually. Rex said that Melanie had immunity. And he said that he had heard it from a source, like a good, close source.
That's horrible. And especially Melanie Gibb. Like Melanie Pawloski, I think she's little nuts like Lori.
She's nuts.
But Melanie Gibb is evil in my opinion. And if they gave her, I mean, even more evil than Zulema. Like Zulema was doing all this stuff, but I don't think she ever would have done it on her own. I think Melanie Gibb was doing it before she met Lori. And she may also partly have introduced it. It's like that whole circle of people.
For me,
sure.
Zulema is she has like low self-esteem, I think, and that's what she liked to be in the group. Where Melanie was not that; it was totally opposites of that.
Yeah,
Zulema just did. She went along with the crowd kind of thing, and if they told her she was special, then that made her feel good, and she wanted to be special.
Right. I think they found a sense of community, hanging out together or something. Whatever it is. But they all knew what was going on. That's the point.
She had to be somewhat ashamed. She didn't even tell her children that she was married, So
Right.
she knew there was something wrong with it.
Right. Yeah, that's a very good point you just made. Yeah. She didn't even tell her kids. Yeah.
If Melanie Gibb purposely went up to Rexburg to witness the death of JJ, that means she enjoys watching death.
Oh.
You know what I mean? And when I was connected with Lori Vallow's brain, she enjoyed the killing part. Even when she was killing Tylee, she enjoyed it. She enjoyed it. She enjoyed killing.
Do you think it was more enjoyed because she thought she was killing something that killed her child? Because if you think about it, like from that aspect, and that's like I said, it just switched for me yesterday. But thinking about it from this aspect, if I'm now I'm looking at you and I'm looking at this thing that has now taken over my child, and my child is now gone, then I hate whatever this thing is because it took my child. So whether it has your child's face or not, it's easy to enjoy getting rid of them.
Yeah. I think the logical decision-making part, that would apply, but during the act of it, the frenetic activity of it, she enjoyed really, the activity of causing the death of another. And remember, I was saying, like, somebody else's weakness amuses her.
Oh, yeah.
And then like in Charles' death, when I did that reading, Alex was there just hesitating a little bit, and Lori was kind of jumping up and down, urging him, kill him, or shoot him.
So
it's like she gets off on it.
And I try to, maybe that's what I'm doing now, is I'm trying to rationalize how she could mentally do this,
Yeah.
And maybe that's what I'm doing now. One little point brought up what I've been thinking lately, but then again, you just brought up like one thing that made me go, oh my gosh, there's like 18, 25 other things that don't really apply to that. So I could really, if I sat down and thought about it through, I probably would come back to the other end of it. But the point you just made about her telling him, hurry, let's get, what's taking you so long or whatever, there was a time limit that they had to do this in. So maybe that's where her hurry up came from. If they didn't get rid of the zombie in time, or the spirit or whatever it was, then another one would be able to jump in and they wouldn't be able to get rid of it.
Okay.
Well,
that makes a lot of sense.
It's like a prism with her. It's like there isn't just one thing, because I think, Teresa, the thing you're saying about seeing the other people, seeing Charles as a zombie, seeing her kids as a zombie, I do think she's schizophrenic. My opinion is she's schizophrenic.
Yeah.
And she was already a sociopathic, manipulative type. She married Joe Ryan for money. Right? He was like 20 years older. She left him when she thought she could take the money. She lied about him in court. She spent years manipulating the system. Then JJ is thrust upon her, and her schizophrenia breaks loose. So she already has this manipulative, cunning, lying personality. And then JJ is thrust upon her. And then within a year, if you look at Charles Vallow's body cam, he's saying to the cop says, he's going, my wife is delusional. And And the cop says, how long's this been going on? And he says, 4 or 5 years. But I've been covering for her. Okay, 4 or 5 years. JJ was 6 at the time. So within a year of getting JJ, I truly believe, because I was shown that the stress of raising JJ, who she did not want, according to every single family and friend that I talked about, all of them, she didn't want to take him. And honestly, Charles was also 20 years older, and he traveled a lot, and she was at it. Her kids were 10 and 16. She could finally go jogging, go to lunch. And now Charles and his sister are having her take this baby.
Yeah.
That doesn't give back as much. And she didn't want any baby. She didn't want the baby. But the stress of it, then if you are in stress and you have that kind of thing in your DNA, it can unlock it. So if her father's schizophrenic, her sister's massively schizophrenic, and she has schizophrenia in her DNA, then it unlocks it. So now we have this manipulative person who's getting delusional, but she's pretty enough where her husband's going to, put up with it and pay for everything because she's pretty. And then she gets more and more delusional. Then she meets Julie Rowe, or doesn't meet her, but is getting obsessed with Julie Rowe and Chad Daybell, and then Jason Moe, and introduces her to Melanie Gibb, who I believe is into black magic. The second I first laid eyes on her, I was just like, oh, you're a black witch. I can see it.
Wow.
I can when I'm doing psychic readings, like at a psychic fair, someone sits down, I know exactly how much psychic ability they have. It's like I can feel it. And that interview she did with Nate Eaton, where she's like talking like a little girl and wearing the pastel colored sweater, I just one look at her, I'm like, you're a black witch. So then you have Lori, who's cunning, manipulative, and deceitful, and now probably schizophrenic, gets tied in with the Satanists.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and this is the result.
As far as the where you're taught, you've said this more than once, where Lori was kind of, when she got JJ, it was like it triggered it put her over the edge, because it was something maybe that was just put on her, The fact that JJ was 7 and still in diapers was probably huge too. And a lot of autistic children on level 3 are not potty trained. And I mean, there are women in some of the groups that I am in, because of my autistic child, I have, we have support groups and stuff. They're changing their 30-year-old diaper, their 30-year-old children's diapers still.
Wow.
And so, I mean, it's not easy. And then to have, I couldn't imagine. I'm not doing diapers, thank goodness.
Okay.
I'm one of the lucky ones. My child came out of diapers.
That's great.
Yeah. So, but I couldn't imagine. That would actually just probably be, that would be a lot.
Yes.
A lot.
And you're bonded with your son, and you love your son, and it's a lot more work than just a child that's not autistic. But then to be brushed out of town, to be said, okay, here, we need you to take this baby, and this baby's non-responsive to a lady who's already just a manipulative, deceitful person anyway.
Right.
And then that unlocks the schizoid.
Maybe too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Lori
it's not
just
an easy thing to do. It's right. It's hard enough to take a child in, especially but then to take a child in that's extra hard.
Mm-hmm. Right. And Lori didn't have the capacity for any sort of like self-sacrifice. Mm-mm. Right? She couldn't care less about other people. She was like, look at me.
She manipulated everyone around her, like the accusations about Colby saying that Joe Ryan sexually abused him. Joe Ryan showed me when I was doing the reading with him. He showed me he smacked Colby on the back of the head. He took responsibility that he was short-tempered. He was around 40. He was until then he was a bachelor. He didn't have children, and he wasn't equipped personality-wise to take on this kid that was, what was he, 8 then or something? I don't know how old he was. And so Joe Ryan did show me that he was short-tempered with him and that he hit him inappropriately, but he vehemently denied any kind of essay. and he didn't have the energy of it. And then when you see all the court papers, every single teacher, every single psychologist, every single court person that interviewed Colby said Colby was lying. Like, he didn't know what to say. He couldn't keep any story straight. And I don't know if they made that clear on Netflix or if they just let Colby say that for flair.
I think that Lori planted false memories in him. That's what I think happened. It's very easy to do that. Any of us could do that to our small children. You could convince them, oh, remember when you saw Santa Claus this morning? What? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I do remember when I saw Santa this morning. You know what I mean? You can do that kind of stuff with small children. And I bet you that's what she did with him.
Oh, for sure she did.
I think
she just programmed him and programmed him and programmed him and programmed him.
Yeah.
So, and then, Charles met her and he was actually enabling her because he helped her moving all over the place when really he was making good money, should have bought a house. Nope, we're going to live in one place, Lori, and your ex-husband. He helped Lori bounce all over to avoid letting Joe Ryan even have a relationship with his daughter, unfortunately, Right. So because she's pretty, she manipulated men all the time. Even Jason Moe on that comment, he joked about the Jeep. If I gave him any benefit of the doubt, maybe she manipulated him too, that Charles was, besides being evil Ned or whatever, that Charles was abusive. She could have made up any kind of thing that made another guy think goodbye and good riddance, Who knows what Lori said to Jason.
Right. No, that's true. Teresa, I wanted to ask you a question about, so this is kind of gonna, I guess, not move on, but just for a second, I want to sidestep over to Sebastian Rogers about the autism.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah. I actually almost started to too, and then I thought, oh no, we're talking about this. So yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I felt like it applied, like when we were talking about the diapers. Teresa, I'm sure you followed the case quite a bit, Sebastian Rogers' case. And then it came out that, Chris Proudfoot basically said some really demeaning things about Sebastian having to wear diapers and that he would, go to the bathroom in his pants at school and things like that.
I didn't know Sebastian was still in diapers.
Oh, you didn't know that?
Oh, okay. Yeah, you didn't know that? Yeah,
no,
age
they
15.
Said he's a level 1, and a level 1 is the high functioning. They're not usually in diapers. Why is he in diapers? Is that from the sexual abuse? Excuse my, I'm not allowed to say that right.
That's what we wondered.
Yeah, because no, level 1, it's not even part of that. That doesn't make sense to me at all. So a level 1, they used to do high functioning, low functioning. Now it's a level 1, level 2, and level 3. So you have your level 1s, and your level 1s usually, they have their issues, but they can walk around and they're actually in regular school. They can, they're awkward around their friends, but they're not too awkward. And then actually there's a level above that, which is the Asperger's. And Asperger's seem to be the more awkward, like what's his name? Rogers, the guy.
Seth, the father.
No. It's the same last name, so I'm throwing it off. But there was a kid.
Oh, Elliot Rogers?
Yes, Elliot Rogers. He was Asperger's.
He's the one who shot everyone in Santa Barbara.
Oh, of course.
Yes. Okay. And so he was more. See how he was really awkward when people would say he was really. He would be more in the Asperger's. Not that all Asperger's are like that, but they have a harder time fitting in. Okay. But that's really all there is really there, and they're more inside their head. Like, I'll give you a tiny little story. I met this girl when we went to this little discovery thing here in town. It was like a discovery museum for sensory issues and things like that. And so it's good for kids with autism. And the girl who was touring us was Asperger's. And I didn't know much about it at the time. My child was maybe like 3 or whatever at the time. But she... it was really cute because she was maybe I don't know, 19, something like that, I guess we'll say. But she walks us around, and then a little while into it, she looked at me and she goes, "How am I doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, you're doing great." And she's like, "Yeah, I mean, I'm communicating well, nicely with you." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're doing great." And then she said, "So you couldn't tell that I have Asperger's, right?" And I'm like, "Well, I noticed there was something, but you're doing really well." Like I wondered. she was like, oh, good. So she pats herself on the back because she's like so happy, because the whole time, I'm sure in her head, she was like, am I doing this right? Did I smile right?
Right.
You know, did I give them the right reaction for what they wanted? Am I mixing in comfortably? You know, and so it was a really big thing for her to be normal, and then it's sort of, they call it masking, but instead of like, it is masking because they want to be so normal, but that would be up to, let me go on from the Asperger's, but that was a cute little story. But and I
so
thought there was
Teresa, is Sebastian Asperger's, or what level of?
No, they're saying that he's level 1. Okay, so level 1 would be right underneath them. So Asperger's.
So that's the highest functioning.
Yes, but Asperger's has been put into the autism realm, and I really don't know if they're exactly the same, you know. But they have been linked with the autism, so it's all like one big spectrum, you know.
Right.
But so level 1 is the Asperger's, and then or above that is the Asperger's, and then you have your level 1s, which are they graduate high school, they, you know, regular school. Most of them are just right along with the other kids, and they don't have issues, as far as I knew, with diapers. That's really surprising to me, because I would have put a diaper in a level 3 only.
Well, you know what? If he was being abused in the home, you know, violently, that could trigger that an occasional accident, and then maybe just to humiliate him, they could have done that too. You know what I mean? Because the stress from physical and mental abuse, and expecting it, you know, just hopefully pray for Sebastian, and hopefully hopefully he took off on his own, and hopefully if he did take off on his own, though, he could have gotten far, huh? Especially if a truck or something picked him up. And I don't know if he's dead. Someone said, is he dead or alive? What I do know is that Seth, I talked to for 2 hours, and I have seen Seth on another channel, and he said I guess a lot of psychics, are they saying he's dead, Lauren? I haven't listened to them, but he said it troubles him a lot when he hears that. So I'm not saying one way or another. I'm saying I did talk to him. He has my number. I told him I'd do readings for him if he wanted. They do have a psychic that they already know that they're kind of working with and stuff. And because of the BBC and mainstream media smearing me, I want to make sure if I do any more of these cases that I have someone in the family that's there and going to back me up. You know what I mean?
There's a boy, this almost the same age as Sebastian. So he is 1 year older. His name is Connor Jack. I can't remember his last name, but Connor Jack is his name. He disappeared from California, and 3 years later was found here. I'm in Utah, in Park City, living as a vagrant. And he was 16 when he left, 19 when they found him. And he had traveled from California up near, like on the north part of California. Like I'm going to say Reno area, but I don't know, somewhere near there. And then he had gone through Oregon, and then down through Utah, Nevada, and then Utah.
So was he just hitchhiking then, kind of?
No, he doesn't tell the story about what happened, but the things that they do know are interesting. And I actually wrote Seth a message and told him this, because I wanted to help him know that it's possible, you know. But this boy was actually pulled over because he was on the highway walking, and an officer pulled up behind him because he said that the kid looked distorted, and he wanted to check him out. And this is typical for an autistic person. He didn't know what to do with the officer. He was afraid of him, so he started picking up rocks and throwing them at this officer, right? So he's throwing them and trying to get the officer away from him, and the officer ended up having to tase him to get him to stop, because he was going to attack him. And I can totally imagine all of it. I can see it with the overstimulation, how he might have been, you know, how he would have reacted. So he ends up being taken to jail that day. He actually goes to court. He has a public defender who he's going through trial, you know, or not through trial, but through the hearings with, and they finally let him out, and with he needed to do some community service that he never did, because he just, you know, doesn't know any better, and they let him go, so he went. But now through all of this, he is a missing persons. He's a missing child out of California, and not one person has recognized that. And that's one thing I wanted to let Seth know was, Seth, you have to keep him out there because this kid wasn't even recognized. He went through court. They sent him up to Elko for some mental evaluation too at one point throughout that, and then they ended up letting him go. But the whole time he was a missing child, and they didn't know. But I think it's because he was not. His parents didn't put him out there enough. Not enough people knew. So the best thing that's going for Sebastian right now is that it is
people are talking about
it's high profile. Yeah,
it is.
So
Yeah, even if Seth sees this, even with the clown show drama, at least they're keeping his name out there. That's the way it works on these cases.
All it is.
It's a big drama fest, but at the same time, nobody would even know about him if it wasn't for that. And the other thing is to send by email the poster to homeless places in all cities. I'll tell you something. When I was 16 years old, me and my girlfriend walked down to the freeway in Seattle, and we made it to San Diego in 29 hours. 29 hours.
Wow.
What's that, 1,200 miles?
Wow.
We, more than if you drove in a car, we hitchhiked. We just walked right down to the freeway. It was raining. And I was like, well, because I grew up down here. And it was like, well, there's all these cute surfer boys down in the beach down there. Let's go. And she's like, yeah, let's go. And we were 16. We just walked right down to the freeway and it was boom, boom, boom. And so you could be, if he is alive, he could be in a completely another state, So it's like you can't limit sending these. I would send emails with every list to every single homeless place that serves the homeless community because he could have learned to eat out of garbage cans already. Like he would learn, being a high functioning autistic, he would learn from the others, if he's still alive. But he could easily learn how to survive. Where all the homeless people gone. When I've seen ones that are like their pants are hanging off and they look like they've been sleeping in the dirt, and I could tell they are, talking to themselves or mentally ill or. So I've walked up and given him $5 to try to help him get something to eat or something like that, Sure. So, and then he could have learned to do that already. And then
if he wanted to leave, if he is alive, it's because he wanted to leave. And with Connor, when they found him when he was 19, they called his parents. They came, and he didn't want to go with them, so he didn't go with them. He's actually still here in Utah, and they put him into the foundations or whatever it was, and so he's being helped here, but he didn't go back home. So it must have been
was
so
he
bad
the blonde
back at
kid that they showed on Inside Edition? Is that Connor?
Connor has dark hair.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think it's the same one.
Oh, okay.
So I guess the question would be, if this is what happened, and if Sebastian really did take off in the middle of the night, why then? What made him leave? Was there a fight with mom, and mom has never talked about it?
I agree. That something's up. Something's up. I agree.
Right, something's up.
I will tell you that I did tell Seth, I'm trying not to say a whole lot because I don't want to get sucked into the drama like at Summer Wells and stuff. But I did say I was seen, it was like a tussle or something. I seen him try to grab her and I seen her going like that. And then when I told Seth that's when Seth told me if that did happen, then he could die because he has fluid on his brain.
Yes.
So
true.
I don't know though, because I never even listened to the recording. I just feel like, I did talk to Seth, and it's like he has a lot of friends that are psychics. His mother knows people that are psychics, and
Donna, but they're not you. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say that they're not you. Right. You have a sensibility. I mean, you get this bird's eye view of what happened. So much that the other day when I was going over my Suzanne Morphew, the Suzanne Morphew catch-up series I was doing on my channel, you described to a T, long before it came out in the courtroom, that Barry had a stack of papers, that he just kept looking at these papers, and that he was carrying his boots, and that he was wearing these, camo pants and a black shirt. Turns out that's exactly what he was wearing. I mean, there's no way you could have known that in August of 2020. Didn't come out until August of 2021.
I have to read that again. That's the longest affidavit I've ever seen. Was it 125 pages?
Absolutely.
I need to do an update, and I'm so slow at making videos. It's like I always think, you know what? I might as well just go on there and put another reading because trying to make a video is like a 5-year-old or something. But yeah, with Barry, and I saw him chasing her all over the house too. So really, that's when we know when she did die.
Well,
That's what I'm
they
trying
got
to
the
say
weird
to
tree too. The weird tree she was
right
found
in the
by.
tree. The tree.
Yeah, the tree.
Absolutely. That's what I'm trying to say though. Is you give this bird's eye view that I've never heard other psychics give, where you walk them through exactly all the details.
Oh yeah, like I'm really there.
Yes.
That's those trance readings. That's why I allow myself to go as much asleep as I can with still talking. And then I kind of out of consciousness.
I mean, it's mind blowing. And just like the detail of, Chad Daybell's house. He said it was made between, what was it, 1960 and 1970, and his house was made in 1960.
Yeah.
I said between 1950 and 1970, and I was saying I'm seeing a brick or concrete porch with a little brick line with the room for 2 chairs, and there's exactly. And I said, and then there's like a home edition where it doesn't match the original house and blah blah blah. Yeah.
Do you remember the ski lift or the line or that she was seeing that?
Yeah.
Do you know that there's that clothesline right in his backyard? That clothesline with the 2 T's and the clothesline goes right across.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I think they called it.
That was referencing too.
And you know what I think?
Yeah.
If any of his kids will ever talk about it, I think they named those buildings. Because remember, we're going by the bear. We're going by the bear, by the and I think those buildings all have a name because sometime during the trial I heard someone say something, and they call it. John Pryor even called that the meadow or something, whatever I called it in my reading. But I think that's what it is. Because you imagine you have a bunch of kids. Go to the 3rd building, go to the metal building. No, okay, this building is bear building. This is deer. This is the line. It's like, yeah, I think that's where all that came from.
So not to get like excited about it, but when you say that Seth knows these psychics and his mom knows these, they're not you. That's the point.
Yeah, so right. If someone said like, someone did a reading on Seth or on Sebastian, I would be like, oh. But if Donna does a reading on Sebastian, I want to run over and find out what happened.
Right. Honestly, I'm going to say this for everybody in the crowd, but readings are a dime a dozen, but your readings are not. That's why everybody, when you upload one, is like, he lines it right over your channel because we want to hear that. As you walk through the crime part, it's fascinating.
It's like I'm there in 3D, standing there watching. It's like I lose all body awareness. I actually lose consciousness because I don't even usually remember. I might remember a couple things like when you wake up for a dream. Right. I don't remember. If it wasn't recorded, I wouldn't remember. And that's what I wanted to tell people too. It's okay. So we live in a 3D world, right?
Yeah.
On TV, it's 2D. But how it looks like when I'm standing there watching these crimes, it looks like 10D.
Oh, okay. There's
more going on because there's the energies of people and there's the thoughts of people. And there's like, say in Xana, in the Brian Koberger thing, I'm in Xana in Ethan's room, right?
Yeah.
And I'm seeing all this happening. And then all of a sudden I see a hunter walk through the room. An actual real hunter, just like I saw the trapper and the other one, a real hunter. And I go, why is there a hunter in here? Because the name of the guy who found them is Hunter.
Hunter. Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
But to get me to say that, they showed me an actual hunter. But how I saw him and knew he wasn't part of the crime was because of the opacity. So there's multiple ways they're communicating. It's like a foreign language. And the hunter walking across, if you imagine you're making a graphic, maybe he's like 10 or 20% opacity, and the other people are like 80% opacity.
Okay.
So I just want people to know there's like so many different aspects of how the information is put through. Just because on the BBC they're like, oh, she was wrong about the bread, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
you know what?
yeah.
A bunch of pedo Satanists, right? Supplying little children to the queen, right? Do they really want to take me on? Because I'm afraid of no one.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you.
We set her off, I think.
No, yeah, I won't go off anymore. But the bread, that I said, I listened to it again. I'm like, how is this? And I said, it's not the real thing, but they're showing me. They're showing me the killer. So they already showed me the killer, right? I got his whole description right. But I said, it's not the real thing, but they're showing me him working in a family bakery. And you know what? It's like, it would, if you didn't understand mediumship, and even I had to listen to it, twice because I wanted to be like, okay, what's this about? That's why. Because I said it's not the real thing. Just like on Summer Wills, when I was talking about their trip to Wonderworks, I said where all the buildings are upside down. And I never heard of Wonderworks before. And then I'm saying, now it's not the real thing, but I'm seeing a steamboat. Okay, so in one of the pictures at Wonderworks near Ripley's, where somebody might work who happens to be involved, but okay, so you see the kids all lined up, and there's a billboard of a steamboat in the background, because it's not the real thing. Do you get it? And so, and I'll know that it's not the real thing because it's a real low opacity.
Okay.
That's how it works.
Speaking of steamboat, Michael Vaughn, Michael Vaughn reading, she sees the building that has the stacks on top, right? And she sees, as she goes in, she says it's an old, like she could tell from like an office building or whatever. And the windows, remember the windows had the little tiny panes? Do you remember this? Michael? Okay. So picture the Titanic.
Yeah.
Okay. Now in Boise, I think. Anyway, in another town, wherever those neighbors went, they had driven to, and they had stopped along the way. There was a Titanic, history of the Titanic show,
like exhibit or something.
Yes, it's a whole thing. They do it every year. It's big, where they have the Titanic thing in that town. So that to me, I was like, she was describing that maybe he's there. I don't know what it is, because what needs to happen would be the best thing ever if we could all decode. Like if there is a code, there's a code. There's a way that when they tell her one thing, it means this, and we need to know that when she says it this way, it means we need to be looking at an object, or when she says it this way, we need to be looking at a name, or this is a city, because there's got to be a pattern. And it's just decoding that pattern, So
and there is sometimes they'll show it to me like that, where I know it's not the real thing. It's an idea of something.
Right, like when you say "I feel," there's going to be something that has to do with that. How much that is,
But then there's other times when I don't even know, because like in Kylie Rodney, I saw a bear walking across. I saw a bear. And I said, okay, even in the reading, though, I'm like, I don't know if it's a real bear or a street name bear or what. And a couple of teenagers that live in that area, they wrote me, they're like, Donna, bear means bring everything alcohol related.
Oh,
that's so crazy.
I know. That's like their code word or whatever.
Oh, my gosh. That's crazy.
So sometimes I don't even know until someone... I mean, it really is great with this crowdsourced people helping.
Yeah.
Anytime I do readings, if you guys out there are digging up clues, do not hesitate to email me.
It's a collective effort. It really is.
Well, and that's how I met her too. Is when I was watching that, watching you do the overview, and then just the things she was saying. It wasn't a reading that I necessarily listened to. I listened to the overview first. And I mean, from that, she literally had me going, I wonder if there is a salmon lake, and that it was about the salmon river run.
Oh, and the Harley reading,
which really got me. Well, whatever it was, but that part got me going. So that part was like, let me look it up. So I start to look it up, and before you know it, I'm in the group. And so I'm like, it was like an actual second. It was like an extra second, And I only went into the group to speculate. I just wanted to step back and watch, because I had done admitting for other groups, and I just was done. doing that. I didn't want to get all involved in a group again because I get a little involved. When I get involved, I get it all the way.
Yeah. I understand that.
Yeah, I remember saying that, like, I'm just here watching or whatever, and then the next thing I knew, I wasn't.
And she's
watching
like,
anymore.
if you had someone to help you, Donna, what would you
Yeah.
need done? And I'm like, what? And she's
Yeah.
like, what would you need done? And I'm like, oh my God, nobody's even said that to me before.
The thing was,
It's
what I
like-
noticed was that everyone was doing the same thing, or it felt like from my angle that everyone was doing the same thing, and I thought, I wonder what's not being done, because I didn't want to jump in and help if everyone's already doing that. So that's what it was I wanted to do something else that you needed done that someone else wasn't already doing, because I figured if everybody's all doing the same thing, then I don't know. I wanted to be. That's when I ended up joining a vow. That a vow.
Yeah.
So,
Teresa joined a vow.
yeah, just to spy. So.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, we went
Yeah.
on a wild adventure. So she infiltrated AVOW, which is a voice of warning, which is the group the prepper group they were in, and they ended up retaliating against us by hacking our computers.
Yes,
and-
both of us got hacked. They actually cleaned out my. It wasn't an account I had much money in, thank goodness, because it was just one that I had tied to. It was tied to Facebook, is how they were able to do it, I think. But they did it by. To me, they did it in Mormon style, if you want to say. Like I do remember thinking, like, well, they didn't do it bad. They didn't do it to where I couldn't get my money back. They just wanted to mess with me, it seemed like. So it was like they didn't spend my money. They didn't take it. Well, they spent it.
Oh,
but
they didn't
take
spend it? I thought that, yeah, they
did
spent
spend it. That's what happened, yeah. But they didn't take my money. So all I had to do was get in Facebook, and I had to tell them, I didn't post these ads, and I'm not paying for them. Because remember, they posted ads. I paid for ads somehow. But it was so.
Oh, they used your PayPal thing to buy ads on Facebook.
They got
for themselves.
in my yes. In my
I remember
account,
they got into your PayPal.
Yeah,
I remember
and so,
that.
All I had to do was deny it, and then I got the money. The money came back. It was like $40 or $50 or something like that. But it was just.
Well, it's
it was their way of
stressful when
poking
someone
at me.
hacks into your computer.
I got poked. I knew it was them. I knew it was them. Because I had gotten, I had even gotten messages on my email from them since after that, they were letting me know. They were letting me know that they didn't appreciate it. But what ended up ultimately getting me kicked out of Avow was when I felt like I had everything I needed, from there. And that's where we found Todd Gilbert.
Yeah.
Remember that?
So we found Todd Gilbert, the airline pilot, months before the remains were found, and every time I did a reading, I would send him and his wife the reading and try to beg for their help. And she wrote me back afterwards to let me know they did go to the FBI, and that it felt good to. I know I've made a difference in this case, and it does. It's a slap in the face of Rob Wood having Detective Hermosillo lie on the stand like that. And it's a slap in the face what Nate Eaton is doing, both to me and to God, I believe.
I wanted to say this more than once, too. I do want to go backwards a little bit and just finish what I was saying, which was I got kicked out of Avow because I finally thought I had enough from them. And then, so I took a plunge, and I knew that I was only going to get so many before they caught me, but there's like this in-house like email system through Avow, where you just click on. And so I started with Chad Daybell's friends, and then, Julie's friends, or whoever, was close, and whoever I thought was close, like I can't think of his name right now. Oh, one of the ones from Avow that's really close to him, Hector Soso.
Hector Soso is Chad
his,
Daybell's
so I grabbed
most
all these
loyal
people and
friend.
thought I had a plan. I knew where I was going, and I wrote up this whole email that said, "Don't let Chad fool you. This is what happened, and this is how you can figure it out."
I remember. Didn't you post it publicly?
Yeah. I know. Well, I couldn't. If I would have done that, I would have been ripped out right now. So I wanted to get as many of our members this information as I could, because we thought one of them knew. Remember, one of them, we kept thinking that the person who knows that needs to go to the FBI is in Avow. Remember, we kept thinking that. So I thought, let's get this person this information, because if they were shown the information, it would give them what they needed to go to the FBI or whatever.
Yeah, we were trying to find people loyal to Chad to turn on him to help with us.
That would know that the one that was suspicious. Do you remember the man that was suspicious who thought that something happened, but he wasn't sure, and he didn't want to put himself out there without more evidence?
I think most of his friends were.
Yeah.
Like
So we thought that anyway. So I ended up throwing together that whole thing, explaining to them what he did and what you said and everything else, and then I threw it out, and I had to go crazy, because I had to hurry up and get them all out before they caught me, because then I was going to be stopped. But I think I got somewhere in between 100 and 150 emails out before they caught me.
I remember you doing that. You were on a roll for a few days. I remember that. Yeah.
And then I actually videoed myself doing all of it. Like I have a whole video of it because I put my screen thing on it.
Did you really? Did you really? Do you still have it? You should send it to me. I'll put it on my YouTube channel.
Yeah,
it'll be like
I know
Teresa infiltrating AVAL to bust Chad Daybell.
Yeah, but it's all you see is a bunch of code names, all their names and stuff. Yeah. So scrolling and
But it's
and trying
still
to go
really
like
cool. It's still really cool that we went really far trying to make sure these remains were found and to make sure that Chad and Lori are held accountable. And we did play a part in that. And just hearing what Teresa said, that she was all in it for several months. So February 14th, so March, April, May, June, 4 months. 4 months you were actively trying to get him busted.
Yeah.
And that's just an example of how far she went and I went. I just got all the screenshots from her, but yeah, that was a crazy time. And they were hacking. Once I put up the
I knew it was them. They had my IP address. They had to in order to block me. I couldn't get on it from any of my devices at all. Even if I put in a new name and tried to get another account, I wasn't in because my IP address was blocked.
They're pretty slick. Well, the Christopher Parrott's son is a computer guy, and so is Hector Sosa.
And then people that
there she's back. Yay. Oh, and what they did was when I put out. Let me see. Hey. How are you? Did you go cook dinner?
No. My computer kept telling me, okay, you got to charge your battery. And I was like, boom, before I had the opportunity. So I had to totally repower it up and plug it in and all that fun stuff. So I'm back. Sorry about that.
I'm starting to get tired, though. How do you guys feel?
I'm starting to get tired, too. But I did want to take a minute, Donna, and read those emails. I'm sure people want to hear them.
Okay.
Back from Ron Ball and me and our talk.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Ron Ball, if you don't know, is Detective Ron Ball. He was one of the detectives investigating Chad Daybell.
Yep. So this was from June 29th, 2020. This would have been 6 days after I made my very first video going over your readings, when I was just like blown away. A psychic could solve the case before law enforcement. Okay.
By the way, before you start reading,
sure.
I found you. The day you did that, I found you and ran to Donna, and I was like, there's a lady online, and she just started talking about your readings. She's dissecting them all, and isn't it so great? Because no one was recognizing her. And so I felt the same way you did, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's out there, put it out there, and then so do you remember that, Donna, when I ran?
Yeah, she was like, there's this lady that keeps making videos about you. And I was so, once the remains were found, excited. It's like I had to decompress for a while, and then I finally looked over, and that's how we all became friends.
Yeah,
for sure. And Naomi has told me that she was about to start doing the same thing I did, because she couldn't believe nobody was acknowledging that you had gotten all those facts right. And think that's before even the preliminary hearing, where we found out so many more things, right?
Yeah.
It's just the beginning, and you already had that many facts right. It was mind-blowing.
And Naomi is a super sleuth too, especially on the Barry Morphew case. She's like an encyclopedia.
Oh, for sure.
How helpful Naomi was. For people who watch about Suzanne, she's on Sweetie Pilot's channel a lot. When I had this one reading, and I never uploaded, I want to upload the clip. I said, there was this Native American man, and I saw him, and he went like this, and he blew out the last breath of Suzanne. And I said, and here I sketched his face paint afterwards. And Naomi actually took the incentive to contact a Native American museum and send it to them and ask. And they said that face paint means you have fought a demon and won.
Wow. Very
and I really took that as they were acknowledging my fight against Chad Daybell.
Okay. That makes sense.
So I thought that was really cool that Naomi did that.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, she's cool.
Okay, so sorry we got off track, but
okay.
before we leave, we're gonna leave, but before we do that, Lauren's gonna tell you about her interaction with Detective Ron Ball.
Yep, and in case somebody's in here that wasn't in here earlier when we were talking about this, I had contacted Ron Ball to tell him about Donna. I also had a conversation with Rob Wood I was talking about earlier. But anyway, so when I called Ron Ball, I was telling him about Donna and how accurate she had been. And he's like, okay, well, please send me an email, provide me these links of her YouTube channel. And so I had followed up with him and sent an email. Hold on. Let me make sure this is the right one. Okay, yeah. So this was my very first email to him. Hello, Ron. My name is Lauren, and I just spoke to you regarding the psychic who saw in great detail the burial of Tylee and JJ. She makes it very clear that in that shed, if there's a drain, that's where Tylee's body was dismembered, and a piece of jewelry fell off from her body. Since the probable cause affidavit came out, I revisited her videos she put up on YouTube, only to discover that every key detail given in her videos was confirmed in the affidavit. And that was only in the arrest affidavit that came out like end of June or something, right? Or maybe even just after Chad was arrested, I think.
It had to be you're right. Let you just keep going.
Yeah. Okay, so there are two options. You can listen to her videos and try to decipher what she's saying, or you can refer to my breakdown of them, which I did recently. If you end up watching the videos I did, I connect what she's saying with pictures down to even the description of his home. It could help you figure out where she's talking about so you guys can continue to stack this case and get the conviction. And I said, one thing to note, the psychic recanted that it's not a cabin. She notes the water on it and what seems like are canals on the property, or, irrigation canals, which can be seen in aerial photos on June 9th, 2020. I think that's very interesting too, Donna, real quick. Is it the way you described them were like Finger Lakes, like, and you said like,
it goes off like that.
You know what I'm talking about?
I remember she drew that picture. She drew it for the group that we were in. She actually drew a picture of it like this, and we were like looking, and we knew that he was in between the two. So it would be the lake where the water went into the lake, and then the canal, and he was here, and there was a tree here.
And one tree that sticks out over the lake, I said in a couple readings.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, but she actually drew that for us. And I wish that I had thought of this before right this second, but she drew a picture from the aerial view of what the buildings were when placed on the property, and she was telling us about there was more than one driveway, and so because we were looking for a location that matched it. And recently I saw that, and it's totally it's like you're like, whoa, now I see what she was seeing. But back then we're trying to visualize what she's seeing, we're trying to imagine what she's seeing, so she had to draw us pictures. So moving on.
Wow, that's amazing. So after I wrote him that, then he says, thanks, Lauren, I will review the recordings, thanks for your interest and tip. So then I write him back and I say, wonderful, Ron. I appreciate you responding to my email. Before I forget, I thought of more things that stand out in what she says. She has made maybe 2 to 3 videos now where she dives deeper into details. She sees the outbuilding and even the unique parts of it and describes some strange portable table that sounds like it would be used in the butchery business. She says the hardest thing about mediumship is interpretation. So she might get visuals of this just to say that they cut her body into small parts. At one point, she even stated that if you find just 2 bones of hers, they ate a leg. And then Angie Christensen comes out and talks about, carnivore activity.
Mm-hmm.
This is crazy, right? These details. She was so horrified, but I made a typo, but what she was seeing, that's what I think I meant to say. She was so horrified with what she was seeing. She even said she didn't want to release that detail. So, of course, when it came out in the media that her remains were egregiously disposed of, we were in shock because she said it long before anyone else could have. In all of her readings, she states that the deep freeze needs to be checked. It is entirely possible parts of her body, Tylee's, were wrapped in some sort of butcher paper and put into a deep freeze. I wouldn't believe her if she didn't get so many of these details correct. Another thing is, she differentiated between JJ and Tylee's separate killings and burials and the method of death. She basically said Alex and Chad didn't want to cut up a body again. It was too gruesome. That's why they kept JJ whole and wrapped him in a black bag and duct tape. She speaks of how JJ died towards the last 20 to 30 minutes of her video. That's when you described Lori coming up behind him with that bag and duct taping his face.
Lori was the initiator.
Yeah, she was. I said, I was most shocked when she described this property in an A-frame of it that makes it a 2-story that's on the back side. She saw the fire pit and the method of death. She got exactly correct, especially because this video was made back in late January when no one could have known this. I'm a lifelong skeptic of psychics, but I'm a believer after this Donna woman. No one could guess these details. Oh, I'm getting shivers.
I know.
To be so exact. Oh man, I got.
And then that's when he went in that day and got the tool.
Yes, because when I talked to him on the phone, I said she's saying there's going to be DNA on these tools.
You talked to Ronnie Ball on the phone?
I talked to him on the phone and then followed up with the emails.
Oh, okay.
More things
yeah, so he would remember what you were talking about.
Exactly, and then that's when we saw him, on Facebook.
That day, they went in there that same day and got the tool, right? And it was the tool in court that had the DNA. Yes. So, yay, Charles Vallow.
No, absolutely. Well, and yay, you.
Yeah, and yay, me. And Charles Vallow was real insistent. These spirit people, Charles and Tylee, a very, very strong team. Yeah. Very strong team. And the Tammy was there most of the time, but she would be like, I'm just here to support. She was real nice. And Joe came twice, I think. So, but Charles and Tylee were on it. They were just on it. Like,
oh yeah.
Okay.
There's more.
I have one other question before we go. Are you still reading? Go.
Well, I do have some more because this
is this the same email? Yeah, keep reading it.
This proves Donna correct. This is before the preliminary hearing. But Teresa, say what you were going to say.
It's off subject. It's going to go somewhere else. So let's listen. Yeah.
Okay. So I ended up writing this on August 4th. So I followed. This is what a month and a half later, maybe, or something. Hello, Detective Ball. I need to tell you, in case you didn't yet check the psychic lady I referred you to, that in many of her 12 readings about the missing kids, which she began making videos on January 31st, back when no one knew where the kids were, she saw that JJ was killed at night by Lori in his pajamas. She saw Lori come up behind him with a bag and tell him, it's okay, and quickly put the bag over his head and rapidly begin duct taping him around his head to suffocate him. Now remember, this would have been before it came out in the preliminary hearing. So I'm telling him about his own case at this point because of Donna. That's crazy right there. With Tylee, she saw a blunt force impact and she said Alex and Lori took the time to disembowel her. Lori was the person leading it, telling Alex to basically suck it up. The psychic knew back then, January 31st, that Tylee's body was cut up and some of it burned on a fire pit. She references that I see a human leg being roasted on a fire pit. When I tell you that she saw what happened to these kids, I'm serious. She says the room they were killed in, there was some mural thing on the wall next to some toy chest. She says that Lori and Alex both did the killing part, and Chad was responsible for dispersing the parts of the body throughout an open yard area. If you need to reach the psychic I'm talking about, her name is Donna Seraphina, and she's quite amazing. She also knew back in March that after they visited West Yellowstone, they stopped off at some restaurant. Very odd, but I believe she can maybe help in some way. Thank you. Great job.
That's really nice, Lauren. Do you think you could send me a copy?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
that's really nice. Whatever that last sentence was, I was like, oh, that feels good. That's real nice.
No, I mean, it's true, Donna. You took the skeptic out of me and made me a believer.
And thousands others.
And thousands
and Teresa didn't believe in psychics either. And what I think is the neatest part is it's not about me. It's about people realizing there's more to our existence than just birth and death. That there's something beyond, You know, you go on this trip to find out what it is, but there is something beyond this life, and there's a bigger meaning. I think that's the neatest part is the letters I've got from people that start out like I was a true atheist, and then and you just turned my life right upside down, and thank you. You know, it's like they go on their journey then and make their belief system, but they know that there's more than this. I think that's the neatest part.
What she's understanding, I think it's way bigger than what she's understanding. It's actually like it's a relief. It's a relief of so many things. Like when you think that you're just going to go in the ground and be done, and that's it, and then you find out that you don't. It's huge. So it's. I think it's because Donna isn't a skeptic and never has been. Right. She doesn't understand. I don't think the feeling that you have before, and then the feeling that you get after knowing after somebody's proven it to you. It's been proven. Yeah. So it's like this. It's huge. It's huge. It is. Yeah. Because right now, I wouldn't be afraid. I mean, I don't want to die because I like my life. I like my family, and I don't want them to miss me. But I know I would be happier when I go somewhere else than they are here. And maybe that's not fair, but. I feel more for them if I were to go than myself. Right. Because I know that when we get to go somewhere, we've actually graduated. It's a blessing. It's something good that happened to us, not bad. So to be sad about dying is silly. But I never felt that way before. Never. Yeah. But it also helped me with anyone I've lost. I'm like, oh, luckies, you know.
Yeah. And plus, you'll see them again, and you know that it's not. I hope it or I believe it. It's you know it.
Yeah.
It gives you like a peace about it. It's not as scary, not as daunting to think about, right? Because it's scary when you think about that.
Yeah.
If I had thought that my daughter died and that was the end of it, and I only go to the dirt, and that I never see her again, I would just soon go to the dirt. Like it is the knowledge that she still exists. She can still contact me, and I'm going to have a great time with her when I'm done on my earth journey. And it just, to me, it's just night and day of being able to survive in the world and have a positive attitude and keep reaching for that feeling of love, you know, in our hearts and things like that.
That's beautiful.
So, Teresa, what you wanted to divert this? Was there something you want to say?
We're going to start where we ended, or end where we started, if this is it. But I actually had a thought. I was like, oh yeah. So it was about JJ. It's something we've heard in the trial. So I'm going back to the trial. Amy, I want to know who Amy is because I know Hillary is Tylee.
Oh, Amy. Yeah, Amy.
Was who JJ was supposed to follow into the light. So who died that JJ's supposed to follow that is
I'll figure it out.
If it's not Tylee.
Amy. You know, I put that on my list. I wonder. Okay, so the other day, like 2 or 3 nights ago, I was meditating and Charles came, Tylee came. I had a whole interaction with them. And I haven't even listened to it. And because I remember afterwards, I was like, oh, I'll just tell people about that. And then by today, I completely forgot whatever we talked about. I completely forgot. But
I have to write things down, or I do forget them nowadays.
Oh my God, yeah.
Well, there's so much coming in too. Yeah.
And then when you're in a trance, it's like a different alternate reality, so it doesn't all come over. But okay, so I just want to let people know. I also did a reading with Karen Reed. Is that her name?
Yeah.
The lady on trial.
Oh, yeah.
I need to do a live stream in a couple days, and maybe I'll call it Dirty Deeds and They're Done Dirt Cheap. Dirty Cops. Why is the judge even allowing this trial to continue? It's a joke. It's a joke.
So you sense that she's being set up?
Beyond.
Wow.
I saw everything in the house. Beyond. And then I'm going, okay, I got to edit this. I got to edit this.
I know my mom's been following this case.
A bunch of cops. And it's really sad that, is John her boyfriend that got killed by the jerks in the house? Or let's just go here. See, I get so mad. Is his name John?
Yeah,
is the victim named John? It's real sad that his mother, it's like her belief system, if her son's a cop and then all these cops are going, oh no, we're all cops and we're all good and your son was good, we're going to make him a hero as long as you don't accuse us. So I don't think that she's technically making that kind of distinction, but that's the idea, that like she's walking around in her mind, she has to think these cops are good, because otherwise her son won't be held up to be a hero. So they're willing to put this innocent woman in prison. Oh, it pisses me off to no end. People have no idea, and I need to do a whole live stream. And Micah Miller, that's coming up too. Poor woman. He'd get rid of that psychopath. You know what? That just pisses. Doesn't that just make you furious?
Yeah.
Do you know Micah Miller? This guy's a pastor. He shouldn't be allowed to ever be in another job, or he even has any influence over even one other human being. He is a disgusting disgrace of a human being. Absolutely disgusting.
Even run a prison gang. He should.
He shouldn't even be allowed to sit at a desk and have any control over the person across the desk from him. He's a disgusting human being. Absolutely disgusting human being.
I know. I would love if he did something on Micah Miller. I want to know how he pulled this one off, if he did.
Yeah. So I'll invite you back, but within this week, I plan to do a reading, because I'm going to I was going to say I'm going to take a break from Chad Daybell trial, but that's going to be hard to do since John Pryor's got the floor.
It's actually exciting watching him. It's a roller coaster for me, because I on one hand I don't like him because he's defending Chad, but on the other hand I can't help it. He's doing.
I felt the same as you, Teresa. I actually love when he lays into these fools. I love it.
I can't help it but like him, And in the end, I've been begging the whole time. I'm like, please give me the smoking gun that the state needs, because I thought Pryor had the upper hand. But then I finally got it with the phone call about the backyard and their whole codes, you know.
The phone call and the text, because
that
it's like,
phone call was ridiculous. Are they stupid? They're the stupidest people in the world.
Aren't they stupid?
They're
we're so smart.
They can talk about all this stuff in code and nobody will get what they're saying. That was
it couldn't have been more obvious, right?
Yeah. How I feel about John Pryor is, I have my bachelor's in pre-law.
Yeah.
So to me, it's more like I'm watching a chess game as far as watching their strategies and questioning. I think John Pryor's doing an excellent job. He's up against, the 4 state lawyers, 4 state prosecutors, and each one of them has paralegals doing half their work. And he's keeping us cool. For the most part, he's doing he keeps his cool, and he's like, makes his point and goes, okay, every time he makes his point. And I hope that Melanie Gibb is forced on the stand. I'm real concerned about her hiding. But I enjoy watching him with everyone, even just poking the holes in the case because I don't have any concern at all that Chad's not going to get convicted.
Right.
I guess if I did, I'd be all over it.
I did,
but
it left. It left after the. Oh yeah, I thought it was it. He was. I thought John was doing his job, and that they were going to be able to prove it because he had reasonable doubt all over the place.
Okay.
And to me, it seemed feasible that he could very well have been just like, okay, look at all these other people who were sitting around saying like, I don't know, she lied to me. She told me that the kids were fine. Why couldn't she have said the same thing to Chad? And that's what they were really going after. And I thought John was proving that. That it was possible.
He was on at least a level playing field to instill doubt into the jury. And I think with that last day of testimony, when they put up that phone call and those texts, it was like, boom.
Done. There's nothing there's really nothing John Pryor can do in his defense now that could take that away.
No.
For me. I can't imagine anything. Nothing.
I can't imagine. Yeah. If there was any doubt at all in any juror, I think that just flipped it and Chad's going down.
Yeah. I'm feeling good too. I was like, no way he's getting the death penalty, that's for sure. But now I'm back. We're all in. He's getting the death penalty. He's just gonna. It's all coming.
Going down.
Yeah, I mean, if Like normally I'm it's not that I'm against the death penalty, it just grosses me out, the thought of it, and they usually go about 15 years never, spending way more than it would cost to keep them their whole life. Mm-hmm. And then they never do it. So there's all these issues around it, but if there was ever a case that deserved the death penalty, it would be for the crime even just against Tylee, Ryan, and JJ Vallow. Not to mention Charles and Tammy, but the deaths of those children were horrendous. They were not quick. They were not peaceful. If you were going to kill your kid and knock them out on drugs, these are horrible, horrible, horrible deaths.
And then to know that your mother's doing this to you.
Can you imagine? Yeah, the betrayal. Well, one time I was in Tylee's body. They put me in Tylee's body. And the room was going around. They wanted me to see for sure that she was indoors when she was killed. So it's like I could see the wall as I was going down. Okay. It was real traumatic. It was the last reading. I mean, after that reading, I'm like, okay, that's it. That was my last reading.
My son's trying
that was my last. I mean, if she comes through and says good things, that's fine. But that was my last experience of her crime. I'm not doing that again. Okay.
How do you think Tammy was done away with exactly?
They showed me that Chad was experimenting with different poisons. They showed me in the trunk of his car on the left side, the inside corner of the trunk of his car, that the police could have, if they listened to that and did it, they could have cut out that and they could have located proof of that poison. She showed me an octopus, and then when I was talking about that, she changed it to a puffer fish. And so it was a listener that wrote back and said tetrodotoxin is the name of the poison for that. Well, and they said, all anyone would have to do is stop at a tropical supply store and cut that little piece out and put it in some food. You wouldn't even notice. It's like that big. But guess what? It gets better. All you have to do, it's shocking, you wouldn't even know this. You or anybody else, which I hope no one does, you can just Google tetrodotoxin and you can buy the powder online from China and have it sent to you. And it's 10,000 times more poisonous than cyanide. 10,000 times. And I wrote the coroners at least probably 10 or 20 emails please test her for tetrodotoxin, please. I don't know if they ever did. I talked to another coroner that has a Facebook group, and she said once they put them through with all that formaldehyde, it'd be unlikely to be able to really track down any poison. But then I also did that way back when I found out about Alex, and I read that they had saved some vials of his blood or something in case they could test later. I begged them to test for that. And when his autopsy was made public and I read it and they only tested for 4 or 5 basic things, I was just really kind of just disappointed. I was just like, you know what? You could have done a test for that. What the heck is wrong with you people? I agree with Adam Cox and Rex about I don't believe that Alex's death is natural. No, of course it's not.
No, it's not. And next time, Donna, you need to make phone calls like that to hound them. Hey, test.
Yeah.
So now, didn't we?
Tell me, I'll do it.
This where I'm actually going back and forth because I'm not sure if this was right or not. But didn't we learn that poison or that whatever that is would cause would appear to be like an
pulmonary embolism,
as well as the pink foam. I think the pink foam was involved.
Mm-hmm. That poison would cause the death of all of them.
That pink foam would be caused from whatever was happening that killed them, right? But it wouldn't show it would show, but people don't test for it.
Yeah, they don't test for it. So there's maybe 4 or 5 basic poisons or something that they test for. They would never test for it. And even in that first reading, even in the psychic overview, I'm saying they poisoned her. It was something they don't normally test for. So Chad feels comfortable that they won't test for that. And then when I talked to the first interview I did with his friend Eric, Eric said that Chad had been experimenting with poisons for an entire year before Tammy died.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I feel comfortable that Tammy's more accurate than what we're hearing publicly. Like, they can only say what they get. They can only say what they get, but clearly they didn't listen to me, and it would be nice. I'm sure they would still have vial of Alex's blood they could test,
Mm-hmm.
It makes me so mad, Donna. I feel like they never took the time to share the message that you solved this case. Like it.
Well, especially the reporter, Nate Eaton, because, like I said, it all goes back to this. Why are cops at the beginning of an investigation bringing a reporter along on the airplane and in the car? And because they know it's going to be big, and it's for a small town. For Rexburg. Yeah, it's going to make their career. So for Rexburg, Idaho, they're bringing their friend. So Nathan's already their friend from church or whatever. They're all Mormons, and and he's going to document. He's going to make them all famous and document all this thing. And why is Rob Wood going along with all these cops? Like, Rob Wood drives to another state to interview Melanie Gibb when it hasn't even been turned over to the prosecutor's office yet.
So
there's some things about this that will be really nice details for my book.
Write a book, Donna.
Okay, Nate,
I will. It'll be like 2 inches thick.
I don't know if you remember this part, Donna, and it'll probably be new information for you, Lauren. Nate Eaton, when we were searching, we kept switching areas. We didn't know what area we would be in, but we would all talk together about how, this fits. Let's all look around in this area or whatever. Well, we were in Island Park. We decided we were going to look closer to Island Park instead of further out.
Yeah.
When we were in Island Park, we were starting to get kind of really heavy, where we were actually calling realtors and asking them about their properties and things like that. Pretending to be interested in renting or whatever, so we could get some inside information on what maybe the buildings look like. Do you remember that?
We were like those big little investigators.
Yeah. And then so now, just right about the time we flipped, like we were thinking, after we saw this, we're like, okay, he's either listening to our readings or he's in the group and he's spying or something. He's interested in Donna, and I'm talking about Nate Eaton. And the reason we thought this was because it was we literally had just switched to Island Park, and we were all looking for this with a certain thing, that we were kind of honed in on, that had
a cabin. We were looking for a cabin.
The cabin that had the taxidermy option, with that little building with the taxidermy. Remember, because we were thinking, okay. And so shortly, like literally right at the time, Nate Eaton posts on his page, he's asking anyone if they know of a good cabin that would fit a lot of people, because she was talking about the party where all the people came to the cabin, and she saw them all there, like they all came there for a gathering or a group thing where they were all there. And then Nate Eaton's asking for help because he's got family members coming in town, and he's thinking about the Island Park area. And
he put a picture of himself in that same post. He put a picture of himself in a canoe with his kids, remember?
Yeah.
And he said, I'm looking for a cabin in Island Park. Anyone got any suggestions?
My whole family.
I mean, we were laughing because he does know about me. He's known about me from before this started. He is taking part in a lie when these people predicate themselves on God. Yeah. Their whole justification is God, but you're denying proof of God.
Yeah.
So I want to ask, before we just hang up, I want to ask people, whoever's watching this, if you would please, when you're on East Idaho News, mention my name. Now, no, it is a blocked word. Psychic is a blocked word because so many people have tried. So just be creative with your phonetics and get the message out there. And ditto for the Mormon YouTube channel. They are dominating this case. And for 4 years, they've been lying to you, okay? For 4 years, they've been lying to you. Please, if you're on those channels, please mention my name and my work. I really appreciate it, because I'll tell you, mainstream news, mainstream media is not going to do it.
I know. I've been hoping some Netflix producer or somebody would do something on you.
I wrote to that Netflix producer, too.
I've written to many outlets.
It's a huge story. It is.
No, it's huge. I've seen one story. It was, I don't know if it was the Daily Mail or the Sun, and it was like, they're like, a headline was, a kid in England on his computer recognizes a piece of gum wrapper, and so the police think that was the great clue that helped solve a case or whatever. It was just trivial. Right. But here I have like 650 pages over 20 hours of literal psychic trance that literally tell the story accurately, and these people pretend like I don't exist. They pretend like I do not exist.
Something I want to mention for anybody who's in the group, Donna's group, for instance, group members. I think it was yesterday or maybe the day before. I was removing posts, removing comments off of the wall when they were talking about this other psychic. I can't even remember her name right now, but it was offensive. It's very offensive. I don't even know who she is, and I went to her page to see, and I didn't see anything about the case, nothing. And so why is it that she's getting recognition for all the work she's helped with in the group when Donna's sitting here, and then to be like advertising her in the group is I thought offensive. I was offended by it, so I removed them all and explained to every one of them that it was removed. Why? Because I wanted to let them know that I was offended, not Donna. You know.
Yeah.
Me, she's not ripping it out. I'm ripping it off the page because I didn't want to see. I just didn't want to see that. I thought that was they have their own page. If they go talk about.
Well, yeah, they have their own platform. I created a group. Yeah. Originally, that group was to investigate, but also some groups like me, some people like me, and other groups hate me. And I could like in Dylan Rounds, I literally put in there the accurate story before James Brenner was ever charged with this. I told what the whole fight was about. I described him. I described his trailer. Yeah. And you know, one of the friends from that area, the people I did a reading for, let me see if I can find it real quick. They gave me an update on Dylan Rounds and where his body is. I want you guys to hear this real quick. Let me see.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, I want to hear it.
Let me see.
Wow.
Here it is. This is what she wrote. On Wednesday, she wrote me. She said, Dylan's mom has stated that she wants to keep the burial site private so no locals can go out there and find it. Like, why? But a lot of locals already have. Now, right there is a commentary because people who are affected by this want to go to there, to bring flowers to there, to whatever. So I'm not sure she's okay, I'm going to leave that alone and just say.
Fruit, that's all.
Yeah. Okay, you said it. So, okay. And then she writes, he was buried about 150 feet south down the fence line of the north gate to the property of the grain shed. So I'll read that again. He was buried about 150 feet south down the fence line. Remember, I kept going, the fence, just follow the fence. There's something about and there was also a fight over the fence as well. Yeah. But he was buried about 150 feet south down the fence line of the north gate to the property of the grain shed, about 3 feet deep and dug with a shovel.
And wasn't the road that the fence line went down called Horse something?
Oh, so James Brenner used to have a wild horse, and there was a little corral there. And so before Dylan came along, James Brenner had full run of the property, and there was a couple fights. At one point, Dylan backed into the corral, screwing it up for, James Brenner was really insulted about that. James Brenner was real touchy because Dylan was kind of pushing him out from his hangout, and Dylan was supposed to have to call James Brenner on the cell phone to be let in, and James Brenner would come unlock the gate to the property. But Dylan decided he didn't want to have to do that anymore, so he cut the fence. He cut the chain so that James Brenner couldn't lock him out anymore. Okay. So that's a fight about the fence. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I also described his trailer that burnt down and the horse. So he used to have a wild horse, Teresa.
Okay.
That's crazy.
But they wouldn't let me, his family, not his family, his mom, and whoever was adminning, they wouldn't let me share the reading. And it's like,
That stuff
do
makes
you or
me
do you
feel-
not want to find your son? And then I volunteered for Heavy D, that guy with the helicopter. I said, I'll come out there for free, no charge, if just someone pays my expenses. And he offered, and he had to cut the piece out where Dylan's mother said this. And it's like, it's hard because Kurt Wadsworth, who I did the interview with and did the reading with and stuff like that, said that Dylan really didn't have much of a relationship because his mom had essentially abandoned the whole family, took off with a bunch of family money, left for years until she was broke before she even came back. And Dylan essentially thought of his grandparents as his parents. So here was his mom wanting to control the narrative to such an extreme. If it comes down to it, she'd rather control the narrative than find the kids. And I'm seeing that kind of behavior in case after case after case.
It's the protection of family secrets, I think. It's the protection of the illusions that they want to put out there. For sure.
So I think all the locals who want to go visit the grave of Dylan and bring flowers out there and pay the respects, of course, they should put up a cross.
They should.
They usually, like when someone gets in a car accident, they put up a cross there, you know. Why be so controlling that you don't want someone to go pay their respects?
Right,
Like-
and right. It's like not even appreciating anyone who kept him out there, or
Right.
who helped, whatever with the case in whatever way,
Yeah,
It's like
she
they're
really
gonna
swung
need
back
that.
and
Some
forth
people-
on that
I
one
would- I
too.
wouldn't,
It's a
but-
slap. It's a slap. It is.
Yeah.
For those
It
who
is.
have kept his name, generated in the
Yeah.
or even cared about him,
or cared. Yeah, exactly.
Because this Kurt Wadsworth guy, he tracked me down because I put my first reading up, the pendulum reading, and then he tracked me down and he said, look, these YouTubers are threatening to kill me. They from that bar where he lived,
Yeah.
the YouTubers were parking in the parking lot and yelling death threats at him. And he said, I just let's do a reading. I want to try to find
Clear
Dylan,
him.
and put an end to this. So, but no, you can't put that information on our family page, and it's like,
It's
okay.
It's so frustrating because when YouTube gets a hold of these cases, they just screw them up so bad because of the trauma, right? Just hearing what was happening to Kurt Wadsworth, that YouTubers were coming after him. That's the
Threatening to
shit
kill
happening.
him, actually threatening to kill him. He is worried about his own physical safety.
It's gotta stop, and it's always just a flavor of the week anyway. Until the next piece comes along, they care about this one, but then they dump that one and go to the next. You know how it is.
And some people are really trying to help solve them or get the name out there or just cover the case, and then other people literally are only on YouTube to create drama, to create conflicts, because they get, and then they just put like Summer Wells is the big classic. They just put Summer Wells, and then they never even talk about her. They just talk about each other and how they hate each other, and
With her name in the title.
they create. It's like the Jerry Springer show.
It is. It is. It's upsetting that this happens, because how are detectives and law enforcement in general ever supposed to take us seriously as a community if we generate drama like this? It's stupid.
Exactly.
Well, it's probably exactly what's happened to psychics, because if you've got one psychic bringing you the right stuff and you've got 400 sending you junk, how are you going to know to sift through it? You're just not,
That's such a good point, Teresa. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and they get a lot. They get a lot of letters, like the cop who called me from the Jamie Kloss case, the 12-year-old from Wisconsin who escaped after 89 days. But the cop, when he called me, he said that they got 600 letters from emails from people claiming to have psychic abilities with their theory or whatever of what happened. And he said, but the reason I'm calling you is because half of what you said, we already know and have not released to the public.
That's so crazy.
So that's how they knew. But even then he was like, okay, I got to give you a test. I'm going to give you 24 hours. And I want you to tell me where the bodies were, which direction they're laying, which rooms they're laying in, which weapons were used to kill them. Like, he wanted a bunch more details, and he said, do what you have to do and then call me back. So that might be one way that they know, is like when there's like it jinx with stuff that they haven't released publicly.
Right. Wow, that's crazy. Well, I mean, with that, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that my favorite part of the story she just told is that she's always said how hard it is to get names and things like that, because letters and numbers are like looking underwater and everything's kind of puffy, and when you look without your reading glasses, well, when you get older, Lauren,
yeah,
when you read without your reading glasses, you can't.
It's already
see
happening
anymore.
now.
Yeah, all of a sudden one day, you just one day you could see fine, and the next day you can't see, but so everything's really puffy, and or whatever. That's how she explains it. But then she had given that officer a name of who she thought was the perpetrator or whatever, and she had told him Peterson, and it turned out to be Patterson. And I
got that close.
If you ever hear Donna say I've been wrong once, that was it.
I got Peterson.
I've been wrong once.
And it was Patterson. That was pretty close. So then my father, the engineer, he goes, you should have said it sounds phonetically like Peterson.
Like you would have known, yeah.
And same with like on the Chad Daybell case, he goes, you should have said body of water. Because it's like a irrigation lake or what.
Yeah.
But it's funny. It's a trip.
Yeah. Wow, that's funny.
Okay.
So thank you guys so much for joining me. It's been, we've been on here for almost 3 hours.
Yeah.
Time flies when we're talking, you guys. It just
it goes
so fast.
They put all three of us in here, and then.
Oh yeah.
I know, and we've barely scratched the surface.
I know. I feel like there's so much more I wanted to talk about.
I know. We should do this again.
We'll do it again, and you guys remember that tomorrow is opening day for John Pryor.
Oh, yes.
And hopefully we get Melanie Gibb in there, and John Pryor rips her a new one. That's my hope.
So.
I hope to God she doesn't have a immunity. That would be crazy. I'll be writing about that in my book if that turns out to be true.
Yeah.
So I want to thank all of you for joining us tonight. It's been a long one, but this was a really good session.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
And I'm only going to have to go back and edit one swear word. Just once. I just went off the rails once.
Right. She said the MF word. Was it MF or the B?
I think it was MF.
But I think MF is the one that needs to be removed. Yeah.
I get a kick out of it. I know not everybody does probably, but I think
I just go, oh dear, oh dear.
I know, here I go.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Okay, thank you guys.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Do something on Micah Miller, Donna.
I will. So when I do one on Karen Reed, I'll do Micah Miller at the same time because I'm furious about that too.
Okay, I get it. Totally. Yeah.
Okay, see you guys later.
Okay,
bye everybody.
Bye everybody.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.